I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic threw their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
All right, Unexplained ones, welcome back to All Things Unexplained. We have a pretty exciting show tonight, but first I am joined by Smitty. Welcome back again, Smitty.
What's
Long
up?
time no see.
I know.
And-
Look who's back. Back again.
Smitty's back.
Yeah.
Tell a friend, as somebody once said, you know, Smitty is a lot like Sasquatch. He's rarely seen, and you know, you consider it a privilege and an honor when you do have a Smitty sighting. So he's back with us, but we are missing CJ tonight. CJ couldn't be with us tonight, and that is also a rarity, but she'll be back soon, I am sure. So, you know, instead of CJ, we got two people trying to fill her shoes, Smitty and Mr. J with us, friend of the show. And one of our military experts. And tonight we're live on X. Welcome to all our friends on X, and we're live on YouTube. Thank you for joining us on both of those. Please, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. We're almost to, get this, y'all, 16,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
That is awesome.
We appreciate everybody, and even if you don't feel like subscribing, welcome to the show. And we're also live on LinkedIn, of all things, tonight. And we got some people saying hello already. I want to say hi to Shannon Brady. Thanks for tuning in. She said hello, looking forward to this one. And special hello to our friend Nikki Starchild from Good Morning UFO. We really appreciate you. Check her out on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to her channel. She is on early in the morning, and she has some really great shows. So check out our friend Nikki Starchild over at Good Morning UFO. Guys, tonight we're going to be delving into a serious topic, and one that has a lot of aspects to it, including some really dark ones. And it is the drone incursions. And these seem to be happening at least along the East Coast, definitely in New Jersey right now, and maybe in the UK as well. Hello, Michael Montes chiming in from Buffalo. Hey, from Buffalo. I got to visit Buffalo this summer. It was a pretty cool place. I got to stay downtown, and I thought, man, it's pretty cool down here. And then, yeah, I took a little road trip from there. Can't say where I went, but it was a fun road trip out of Buffalo. But guys, these drone incursions, you know, they're happening, and there's so much going on with them right now. Like, I'm having a hard time keeping up with it. Jay and I have been talking a lot about it. And tonight we're real pleased to have a witness of one of these drone incursions who made a video, and it kind of went viral there. And it's near a nuclear facility. It shows some, what I would call, anomalous objects in the sky. I don't know if they're drones. I don't know if they're UAP, but we're going to look at that video. We're going to talk to the witness of that. Guys, thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate you. And first, we're going to have a little commercial. CJ's not with us tonight, but she can still join us in spirit with her commercial. So here we go. We'll be right back.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.
All right, we're pleased to be joined tonight by Andrew. Andrew, welcome to All Things Unexplained.
Appreciate you guys for having me.
Well, why don't we just dive right into this? So, Andrew, why don't you tell us what happened to you one night when you had this encounter?
Yeah, no problem. So it was November 26th. I had gone to visit a couple of friends for Thanksgiving, a few good buddies of mine, 3 of them. And we there's a big field kind of out by their house, and it was in the Concord, Kannapolis area. So we were always kind of going out. We all like to stargaze. We just like being in the country, so we all just went and kind of chill and talk a little bit, just hang out. And so we get some chairs out, just some like lawn chairs, and I noticed a bright light. It was the initial object, I call it, the very first object we noticed. Well, I happened to notice it first, because, I've been an avid stargazer, even since I was a kid, and I've always been interested in space and all that good stuff. So I noticed I just see it's unusually bright, and I kind of point over to it, and I get the guy's attention, and I'm like, guys, what do you think about that? That kind of looks weird. Something just doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. It's too bright and it's too low. And they're all kind of like, yeah, that is interesting, but big deal, So I'm sitting there, and now I'm fixated on it. And like I said, we're in like a semicircle of lawn chairs. We're facing west. And I'm convinced it's moving now, because at this point, not in the video, but it is below the tree line. It's like right behind the trees. And if you track it, kind of like with the tree branches, and you watch it long enough, I could tell it was moving. And I was convinced at this point. So they're like, no, you're wrong. We kind of argue back and forth for a little bit. And at this point, I'm adamant now, because I know for a fact it's moving. And so I'm like, I get my buddy, and I'm like, hey, Jay, come over here. It's actually, Jay we got here in the group. But he's a good friend of mine, man, a good kid. So he gets in my chair, and I put him there. I'm like, watch that spot. Don't move. Trust me. And so he watches it for 5 minutes, and he's not really into this kind of thing, So, but he's watching now, and now he's kind of getting invested, because he's like, I think you might be right, Andrew. And so then he becomes convinced, which convinces the entire group, and now we're like, all right, this is weird. So we stand up, we walk, if I had to guess, probably maybe 50 to 60 yards, 40 to 50 yards, to a gate that's out kind of blocking off the pasture from the driveway to the mailbox. Now we're staring at it, and we're just kind of mesmerized at this point. And all of a sudden, it just sort of, and now, like, mind you, the video is 2 minutes long. We watched this thing for 40 minutes before I even thought to take my phone out, So, like, it didn't become unusual until this point. So 40 minutes, we're watching the object, and it starts to kind of hover up. And now I'm kind of like, all right, this is kind of getting weird. So they're all like, record, and I grab my phone. Because at first, like, when those things start to happen, you almost are so awestruck that you don't even think. You can't really think straight. So it starts to rise up. And now I get my phone out. And this is the point where I start recording in the video. And now we see an orange orb. And when I tell you, like, there's planes that you'll see in the video flying back and forth. The video doesn't do it justice, because these were so large and so bright. They look like molten lava, like literally like a maybe metallic molten kind of sphere. It rises up beneath the initial object, the bright white one. And now we're like really freaking out. So then we see one coming to the left, and we're all, like I said, freaking out, but it doesn't really get weird until the third sphere comes in, and it forms a triangle, which, we've all seen Ancient Aliens, and like we've all seen those shows, like any kind of triangle, that's weird. So
Nope, we're not saying it was aliens, but
yeah, but it's aliens, right? Like, good old George, So it hits that triangle, and then we lose our minds, as you'll hear in the video. And again, I apologize for all the swearing, but it was just very exciting and a very unique moment. You could almost feel like the air, it was almost electric, in the air. And after it makes this triangle, it just sits there for a few seconds. And at this point, I noticed there's so much more air traffic, and I've been over there a few times. I've been there in that field many times. There is more air traffic than I've ever seen it, and I didn't really put it together. I think a lot of it may have been some of those drones that are flying around New Jersey were actually around that area. So all of a sudden, the left sphere just takes back off. And I'm speaking as if you're watching the video. The sphere on the left, under the white one, the initial object, takes off to the left, and the initial white sphere starts rising higher and higher and just starts going up. It gets brighter and brighter and bigger. And the lower one just kind of descends again, and it ends up disappearing. The video goes on. My hand's shaking so bad at this point. It's freezing cold out, mind you. It's really cold, and I think I had like a light jacket on. So my hand's shaking, and it hit the record button, and I didn't even realize it. And a lot of people ask me, like, why did the video end? That's why. And that's what happened.
Oh, yeah. And, your description, it almost sounds unreal, except you got the video. You got the video, and we're going to watch it tonight and go back over it with you. So, Andrew, you know what? We were talking about Mick West before the show, and I don't mind Mick West because, if you can prove something wrong, that's fine. I do believe extraordinary claims take extraordinary evidence. But
absolutely,
Mick West made a post today, and he said, folks, if you want anybody to take your video serious, here's what you need. You need a date. We got it, November 26th. Yep. You need the time, or let's say in this case, duration, you said about 40 minutes. About what time of night was it, Andrew?
It had to be, the whole process started, we probably walked out there around 8 o'clock, 8:15, and that's when we kind of noticed the light, probably roughly around 8:20. And by the time we kind of walked up to the fence, it was probably 8:45, 8:50. So like I said, maybe 35, 40 minutes that we watched the initial object. And the whole process, though, we ended up staying out till about 10 o'clock that night. And but the initial object, like I said, we walked out at 8:15. We sat down, got all the lawn chairs out probably by 8:20. Noticed it really moving by probably 8:40, and proceeded to watch it from there. And I'd say it was probably 8:15. Sorry, guys, my camera's going a little wild. 8:15 to about 9:30 was the entire process, and we stood out there for another 30 minutes.
Yeah, and we're talking PM Eastern there. And of course,
yes,
hey, how many of us have ever been able to pull up a lawn chair and watch 1 or 2 or 3 airplanes for that long?
Never in my life.
And you said you're an avid sky watcher, right? So this is not like your first time watching the sky. So we got date covered, we've got time covered, we've got location. You said it's around the Concord area. This is around Concord, North Carolina, correct?
Yes, sir. I actually got on Google Earth because I was fascinated at this point. I had other people contact me about some stuff, and then I told you, I'd kind of make sure I got on here and do this. So I was pretty excited about it. So I got on to find, because I'm not going to sit there and claim something that's not, like you said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So I got on Google Earth, and I found out exactly what location we were facing, considering the front of the house, which was west. And across, it had to be the Catawba nuclear plant. Is the only thing I can think of any consequence in that direction. There were no airports, because you got a lot of people on TikTok saying, oh, it's AI, which I actually have a background in computer animation. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in computer animation from Full Sail University. And like I said, there were no airports, according to Google Earth, and I tracked it, for miles and miles. So the only thing I can think of any consequence, even remotely in that direction, would be the Catawba nuclear power plant.
How far away is that from the location that you were at?
Probably in a car on the highway, maybe 30, 35 minutes. As the crow flies, probably 20 miles.
I'm glad we cleared that up real quick. At one point, I was thinking this was the Brunswick nuclear plant in Southport, North Carolina, on the coast, but we're talking perhaps near the Catawba nuclear, around Concord, North Carolina.
Exactly.
And so given that, when this originally started to happen, what do you think your distance in your estimation was to the objects when they were their farthest at the beginning of the video?
That was the thing. I am going to say they had to be at least probably right over that plant, because I guessed immediately, I was like, that's got to be 10 miles or more. And when I really kind of reflected on it, it had to be further, because it was probably a mile, maybe probably a good maybe 3/4 of a mile to the tree line, and they were obviously farther than that, and you can almost see kind of like the glow from the power plant, like in a way, like you can almost see like the glow from the power. But I would say 15, 20 miles, and that's kind of what like lined up and mapped out on Google Earth for me, so it made sense.
How high do you? I know it's probably really hard to determine, but how high do you think these drones were at any given point?
I would have to guess they probably range anywhere from 1,000 feet maybe even less, maybe 800. Man, it's so hard because like the tree line, you see the tree line, you're thinking, okay, that's probably 40 feet, 40 feet from one of those trees. But judging from the distance and they were back, I would say anywhere from maybe 500 feet at their lowest, 5 to 800, and then at their highest, maybe 3 to 4, maybe 5,000 feet.
Okay.
This is a wild guess, by the way.
Right.
I mean, there's no way to, unless you got you're a trigonometry expert, there's no way to really triangulate that.
Did they maintain most of the same altitude for the duration?
Absolutely.
You see, so they
Absolutely.
stayed, which most planes are going to be moving in a different direction. They're not going to stay in the same spot. Now they may maintain the same altitude.
I'm glad you brought that up to me.
Yes, sir. The only time the altitude really seemed to change was when they interacted with each other, like I said, and formed that triangle. Because, the first one hovered in probably the same altitude, kind of behind the tree line, maybe a little bit above for the first 30, 40 minutes. But then when the other orbs came, that's when everything kind of really went crazy, The weird, go ahead, sorry.
And which direction did the orbs come from? And,
they were west, yeah.
They were west.
Yes, sir.
Is that coming from the nuclear power plant side, or is that just a total different direction from?
The best way I can describe that is like I said, I got on Google Earth, and if you're looking straight down on the house we were at, and you walked out that front door, you would be facing west, almost exactly.
Okay.
I think that's pretty good, and of course, we're going to take a look at that video. And now, you know what? Hey, Mick West, we got you covered. And by the way, when is the last time, guys, that any of us have been sky watching and we saw airplanes interacting with each other? I think that's a great way to put it, because you know what? You literally do feel like that's what they're doing in the video that you took, Andrew. You really get the sense that they are indeed interacting with each other. Now, Jay, I know on a military level, of course, we can have military craft that interact with each other in terms of refueling and that sort of thing. So maybe after we watch this video, you can give us your take on something like this. But before we watch it together, I want to give a shout out again to some people who are joining us. And by the way, we've got a lot of people here right now tuning in. And I want to say thank you. We appreciate you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, the like button. It really helps us defeat the evil algorithms out there that try to squash these types of stories. Hit the share button and make sure to comment. Let us know you're here. Commenting also helps us defeat those algorithms. If you're joining us on Twitter, thank you. We appreciate you. Let us know you're here. Check out our Twitter at AT Unexplained. And we're also live on LinkedIn tonight. Again, thank you for Nikki Starchild at Good Morning UFO for being with us tonight. We've got a lot of people tuning in, but check out Nikki Starchild with Good Morning UFO on YouTube. I want to say again, thank you to Michael for joining us from Buffalo. Thank you to JP. Said hello, looking forward to the show. I'm intrigued by this one. What's up, guys? Pittsburgh, North Carolina, watching C4. I don't know, what does he mean by C4, Jay? Do you know?
Central Carolina Channel Cats, baby. Travel ball team.
Oh, there we go. Okay, shout out to C4. And thanks for joining us, BC. My good friend Pix from UFO Twitter is joining us on YouTube. I didn't know he could venture over into other platforms, but here he is, and I want to say thank you for joining us on YouTube and jumping out of UFO Twitter for a little while. We appreciate you. And here we go. JP wants to know, was it near Pope Air Force Base? They have a global response unit similar to the bases in the UK that were being reported. That's a good question.
JP, I wish I could personally answer that. I didn't see any kind of Air Force base as I was scouring Google Earth, but like I said, I went in a linear direction, and I was scrolling on my phone, so you got all these locations and landmarks popping up, and it was going rather quickly. And I was also, I had Thanksgiving going on, and I was doing some other art stuff that I was contracting out, so I was my hands were full, but I don't know.
Here's a question: Does anyone know what the battery life? Because I don't know as much about drones as obviously you guys. But what is the battery life on one of those for it to be up in the air for a solid 40 plus minutes? What's the battery life on these? If this was a drone, I'm just saying.
I know that as much air traffic as there was, like, you have to get permission essentially to fly your drone. A lot of these drones, like, you can't just like go take off in the air, And I would be shocked with the amount of air traffic that was in the air if they were able to just fly. And the lighting was the weird thing. They were so bright, and I can't unless you put like a 1,000,000 lumen flashlight attached to your drone somehow.
I want to answer JP here. So Catawba Nuclear Station is approximately 148 miles west of Pope Field, but we have also got Fort Bragg out here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Some people call it Vietnam down there, and Fort Bragg is approximately equidistant, about 130 miles from Catawba Nuclear Station. And of course, that area is home to one Chris Bledsoe, who has some experience with orbs and CE5 movements. I don't know how much we'll be able to get into that tonight, but Andrew and guys, maybe y'all join us for another episode one night on Chris Bledsoe and CE5 and what's happening down there. But I think that it's time to check this video out. And I do want to say also another thought on the Pope Air Force Base. Jay and I want to encourage everybody, if you haven't, checked out some of these flight trackers. And one Jay and I have been using specifically, you can filter by military flights, helicopters, planes, etc., and it shows you where they came from, and you can see their movement on there. And like last night, they were coming from all over the place. So I think in terms of distance there, like, we have to expand our horizons literally in terms of thinking about what's close, because these military craft could be coming from anywhere. I mean, especially if they're en route to the East Coast, because frankly, we're a direct line between most anywhere west of here and these places on the East Coast that they might be heading. So let's check out this video. It's the courtesy of Andrew, and here is their entire video from their experience that night.
Why is it two different colors?
Bro, I am.
There's a third one.
Oh my God.
What the going on?
Oh.
Coming underneath it, so it can't be. Might just be.
No, that ain't no plane, yo. You can see a plane. We just got a plane cut. It's flashing. Oh, we got a plane. That ain't no plane.
Does this give you chills, Andrew?
Take still shots too.
Yeah, it just gets the dose.
Yes, I dude. It just made a perfect triangle. It made a triangle. Whoa, bro. Oh my God. We actually caught a UFO.
Yo, what the is this?
Oh my God.
That's a real.
Oh my God.
We almost left.
And I really like it when y'all zoom out here.
Yeah, I'm surprised I could even think straight to do it, to be honest.
Are they gonna lie?
How many times does the airplane stop? Stop and change direction.
Oh my God.
And go back the other way.
Jay, what are we seeing?
I don't know.
Dude, well, am I the only one, or does the top one look much bigger than the other two?
Oh yeah, it's much bigger.
That one at the
Yeah,
bottom
but just
came
wait.
up.
But
And
here's
the
the thing. These are
brightness
not
is
flashing
insane.
lights. Like, there are no runway lights. These are... Oh my
The
God.
plane, is that a plane with a red light going to the left?
No. That's
one-
one of the dots.
There's a plane up to the left in front of
Yeah, the ones to the left there are. Yeah, I didn't see that one. The bottom one there is just sitting there now.
Bro, how did those two lights come together like that?
Oh yeah, the other light's not. It came as one.
Yeah, they lined up like this
The
in a
top
pyramid.
one's so
then
bright
one
it
took
almost
off,
looks
and then
like a
that was
moon,
directly
but
underneath
that
it.
one in
It's
the bottom,
not,
the
but
red one.
it's how
But
bright
doesn't
it
seem
is.
like-
It's just...
What the...
Yeah.
Yo, and the
Yeah, 'cause
Damn.
if we
Yeah,
restarted
people
it,
take it for the moon.
It's moving.
I mean, it was moving. And look, it's
Oh yeah,
moving
you'll see it
again.
move. You'll see it move here pretty quick in a minute.
going on, dude? It's getting way higher, bro.
And,
like they separated, like they came together and separated.
and somebody says disc shape here, which I think is
And
huge.
that top light
Yeah,
is getting higher.
I
And
zoomed
now
in
the
and
one-
it
It's
looked.
coming towards us. That's coming towards us.
I don't know if this video will do
No,
it
it's
justice,
coming
but what we
towards
were
us.
seeing
Oh, it's
was
way higher,
just
too. Remember
so
how
far
close it
beyond
was
this
to the
video. It was
Yo,
unbelievable.
coming towards us now.
You should see it zoomed in. The light
It's
is
coming towards
beautiful.
us.
Dude,
Man,
What
that is
the...
wow.
Nervous.
because this might have a UFO coming towards us.
Yo, we have to sit here until it comes. We got like.
I mean, it was
10 minutes.
clearly essentially stationary in the distance.
Yeah.
Does it...
And just to reiterate to the crowd that's watching, we watched that white glowing object for 40 minutes before any of this happened.
What the is this?
And look at the distance between the two in that short a
I
period
wish
of
I could
time.
call everybody, tell them to come out. How was that a plane?
What? It's like a little disc, dude.
Oh, it's coming. Look.
Yeah, right there.
Like that.
Look at that.
Way over
And look,
there.
it looks
It's
like
been sitting
two
for a
lights
It,
now.
it is. Look at that.
It almost looks like two car headlights in the sky.
Tim, is there any way for you
That's
to
the picture
slow that
I took.
down?
Yeah.
Yep, I think I can. And then also, a couple things here real quick. One, guys, Andrew, y'all's reactions are so authentic. I think it's incredible. I think it adds so much authenticity to this video. I mean, nobody goes out in the field and watches airplanes fly by and has that sort of gut reaction. That just doesn't happen. Yeah. The one thing I wanted people to realize, if we'll watch it again, is we got this object approaching from the left, and it comes down and appears to interact with the orange object on the bottom, and then it literally stops and U-turns and turns around and goes the other way. Mm-hmm. And the object on top, if you notice at the beginning too, it seems like it's moving at the beginning. And even if you think that's an optical illusion, at some point it becomes obvious that the one on top is moving. Yeah. And what I cannot figure out for sure is if the one on the bottom is moving. I can't quite figure that.
The video doesn't capture it, but like before I started recording, and this is why I kind of started recording, was that red orb came up from the tree as if it was taking off and lifting, and then stopped right under the white one. So it did move. It came straight up from the tree line. It was invisible at first.
The brightness of it is just what's really blowing my mind. It almost looks like the sun in the middle of the night. It's just
I don't know if any of you guys have seen the video that the man took in Arizona. He was out there with his family. If any of you guys are familiar with that one?
I think I've seen that, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you might want to check it out. It looks exactly like my video, but it's almost even more fat. I think it was one of the second videos posted. Like mine hit first, I think, which is why I got so much traffic. And then he kind of dropped his, and it exploded. It's got like 10 million views, and it is unbelievable. So if you guys get a chance, you might want to check that out.
Now, I want to point a few things out real quick because I'm going to show everybody something they haven't seen before with this video. And here at the very beginning of the video, we've got the object approaching from the left. And look, it's clear from this video that the object on the top is not where it was later, right? Like it's clearly in a different position here. Now, is the one on the bottom? I don't know for sure, but what nobody has seen here is I took the beginning segment up, and I really was interested in what the one coming from the left was doing, and I sped it up. So Jay talked about slowing it down. I'm going to show everybody a sped up version, and I inserted a few graphics here to help everybody out. And this is just sped up, and pay attention to the object approaching from the left. And real quick, JP said, I understand. I was wondering if they were just looking at Air Force bases, or were they interested in the plant or even Fort Bragg, which would be a very important high value target. You're exactly right, and that's scary. So here we go, a sped up version of the beginning of the video. Excuse the music I added. I'm going to start that over. I think it started a little bit on the late side. Let me start that over. Yeah, I've discovered, like on TikTok, if you add music, it also helps you defeat the algorithm.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself, like posting artwork and whatnot.
So there goes the object on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see the disc on top, and then boom, it just U-turns.
Oh, dude.
Watching it like that it's wild.
But am I the only person noticing this, or is this just part of the video? Look at the little black parts. It appears on both of those at different times. It's almost like you're seeing around the other side of whatever this is, sort of. I don't know. Did you see what I'm talking about?
I see exactly what you're talking about.
There.
Yeah.
In there. And it's on both. It's on all three of those. I don't know what it is.
Maybe some sort of field distortion.
And Andrew, I was talking to Jay about this as far as the one coming from the left to right. Sometimes Mick West and others, they'll talk about, well, maybe you're looking at highway traffic, or maybe you're looking at an airplane coming at you, that sort of thing. But even let's just pretend that this is a land-based vehicle in the distance, and it's turning around. in my opinion, okay, if you're seeing the headlights of this vehicle, it's coming at you. I do not believe if it was the side view of the vehicle that you would see that it would look like that. Nor do I believe that it would appear to U-turn like that and go in the other direction. So I think land-based is out. I think you can clearly tell where the tree line is, and that it's the horizon in the sky.
I can confidently say there are no hills or mountainous kind of regions anywhere in that direction.
That was going to be my question for you. Is it was pretty well flat area with just some trees and.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's airplane. It's on fire because that's what it looks like. It's so bright orange. Look at it.
And like I said, the video does not do it justice. If you had been there, it was blazing. It was beautiful.
Did you hear anything?
Yes, I do.
No, nothing. Not a sound. You'll hear like some humming at the end of the video, and that's kind of what I might, if you guys have time, I'd like to expound on later. There were drones behind us, almost, and what looked like maybe a military plane, which was odd. So you'll hear some buzzing, and it was a drone or some plane approaching us from the back, going towards these objects.
Oh my God.
Andrew, have you noticed if there's any other video of this incident? Have you heard anybody else that witnessed it or got
No,
video?
sir. No, but I do know there are plenty after this happened, and people, once this video dropped, it's like people started waking up, and it also started happening. Like, look at New Jersey, it's happening now. It started happening so regularly that videos like this are so common now on TikTok. They aren't getting millions of views because there are so many of them, and they're amazing videos. They're wonderful, and they've got like 100 views, you know. And it's because there's so many videos like this. Maybe not exactly like this, but you could kind of gather that these probably are the same objects.
You said that you thought that you seen some military aircraft. Did you tell what kind of military aircrafts there were?
Yes.
Were they helicopters? Were they jet fighters? Do you know?
It was my friend actually remarked, one of the guys who was in the field with me, that it almost looked like a the portal. It didn't say portal open, but it almost looked like a time warp happened and a plane from the Second World War flew out, because it's a twin engine. Odd sound, very odd. You know, I've heard a lot of planes. You know, I used to go watch the Blue Angels, you know, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It was like a blacked out, almost gunmetal metallic twin engine airplane with the undercarriage lighting was so strange to me that I'd never seen it before. It was 3 white triangles and like one red in the middle, and you could see maybe like a white stripe on the wing, but it didn't look like anything I recognized at all. And like, we can get into the theories later, you know, but it's one reason I'm kind of leaning towards the mimic theory, you know, where maybe if these are some kind of AI driven or extraterrestrial, maybe interdimensional things that they're trying to replicate or mimic our own craft, you know, which would be the perfect. Everyone thinks that's, oh, why do these things need runway lights? Wouldn't that be the perfect disguise? They've already beat you. Like, you're already clueless now, you know?
Hey Tim, when that clip just before, when the orb was close to us, it almost looked like there were 2 to 3 round objects inside of the orb, if you look at it really closely.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll try to see if I can hit that for us here. Let's see.
Give me 1 second, gentlemen. I'm going to remove this hoodie to get a little warm in here.
You got hot, didn't it?
That's so weird, though. Look at that, still maintaining a triangle that far out. I mean, it's dead triangle right there.
And
that one moved fast.
And it's almost like when the object starts leaving back to the left, it's almost like the top one is done with whatever was happening. And so it takes off. And so here it's coming closer. It's also very telling, I think, that you didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my next question. Did you hear any kind of of sound whatsoever being emitted from any of these crafts at all?
Not at all, and it was almost eerie. And like I said, until the end of the video, it's almost like there was so much traffic out there, and it's almost like they were looking for these things. It was not from those objects, those 3 objects. I didn't hear a single thing.
And and that right there, it kind of has a very disc-like look to it, and you can almost see an outline. And I'll always remember, Smitty, remember when we had Mr. Billy on? This was 4 years ago, witness to the famous Flora, Mississippi UFO encounter, when over a dozen law enforcement officers watched the UFO for quite a long time over a field in rural Mississippi. And he described portholes around the object. He said it looked like he took 2 old plantation bells and put them together, narrow ends on the top and bottom, and wider in the middle. And he distinctly described portholes around it. And I don't know. And he described seeing the light emanate from the portholes. And are we seeing different lights here, or are we seeing portholes of some sort around the disc?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's different lights, because that one moves so far off from the other, it would be almost impossible. Or that's a huge craft. I mean, huge.
Yes, it
That's
is.
what I was thinking. There were planes. You'll notice that flow. You can't obviously gauge that, but there were planes that flew in the distance, and if they were anywhere close, that thing would have dwarfed them.
Does it not look like a triangular shape right there to the right of that thing? Maybe that's the
I was
clouds.
just looking at that.
You see
I
that?
see it too. Yeah.
It looks like what we used to use in school, the angle,
Oh, the compass.
Yeah, protractor.
Yeah, the compass. Yeah.
Protractor, yeah.
See here?
I see what you're talking about. That's very interesting. Now I know Mick West would say that's chemtrails or clouds.
Yeah.
But it does look a little bit like the really bright object is illuminating whatever it is.
Yeah, sure does.
Hey Andrew, the third light that we no longer see in frame, how fast do you think that thing took off out of there? Did you ever see that again?
No, I never saw that one again. And in terms of miles per hour, I would have no clue, but it was faster. It was at least 4 to 5 to 6 times faster than any of the other 2 moved.
What? It's like a little disc, dude.
Wow.
It would have to be at least 100, maybe 200 miles an hour.
I mean, because it was gone. Like you never seen it again. It was just out of sight. Okay.
Right.
So what do you think, Tim?
Well, it's so interesting, and I think it's really telling how when they say, "Hey, it looks like a disc," and we've all experienced.
See it right
this.
there?
Yeah, right there.
It's like a little disc, dude.
You could see an outline almost inside of it.
Yeah, right there. That's a good one.
Yeah, watching it live, it reminded me of the Nimitz incident. I'm sure you're all familiar.
Right there.
Look at that.
Looks like 2 separate
entities.
But do you see the distortions around it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and a shout out to a LinkedIn user. Amazing discussion disclosure happening. We appreciate you, LinkedIn user. But yeah, look, there appears to be, and I understand, we're zoomed in here. This could be camera distortions, or fragments of pixels. But if you look at those distortions, it looks like maybe there's more to this object than what we see lit up.
I can tell you guys this. I filmed a video of some stars the other night, some stuff out there, and it looked nothing like this. Even when you saw it in person, it almost looked like there was some kind of weird, some kind of maybe distortion with gravitational field or something like that. It definitely looked like that, even in person.
I want to point something else out too, because I cranked the volume back up on the video, and I'm going to hit play again. And you know what? If there was airplane noise, helicopter noise, we would be able to hear it. But listen, at some point, one of your friends says, "Hey, listen." And if I'm not mistaken, it's eerily quiet outside when he says that. Let's see.
Yeah, I remember this.
Wait, listen. Shh.
You can hear people's footsteps.
I was about to say, you can hear crickets. I don't know if you guys caught that. Like,
how was that a plane?
What? It's like a little disc, dude.
Oh, it's coming. Look, it's like that was way over there. It was sitting there for how long?
Wait, listen. Shh.
Yeah. And you know what? One thing I've been wondering, Andrew, with these, and Smitty and Jay, with these New Jersey sightings and the sightings over Langley and the sightings at the UK facilities, are these encounters confined to these type of facilities, or are they happening everywhere? Is it just because, we've got more eyes on the sky there and we've got better equipment and devices and technology to pick up these things? Or should we really be paying attention, all over the place?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. I think we should be really paying it. Well, it's obvious at this point that everybody's got their eyes on New Jersey and Connecticut right now. There could be a bunch more stuff going on in California or Alaska, and we would never know.
Oddly enough that you say that, I just saw some TikToks where the same thing is happening in Arizona. There's a few in California. There's videos out there. It's just for some reason, I don't know why New Jersey got so much attention. Maybe because it's so densely populated, and there's so many. They're just blasting the algorithm with that. But I've seen multiple videos from several other states.
Yeah, and the last report I remember hearing was like either 13 or 27 counties had reported in New Jersey of having some type of drone or UAP, whatever, flying over their airspace.
Yeah. And like I said, for the listeners out there, the Arizona video, it'll come up immediately, blows all of them out of the water. It is unbelievable. There is literally, if you zoom in, it looks like it's trying to mimic like at least the colors of the FAA lights, like green, red, white. But you can literally zoom in and almost see a giant disc, and I am not joking. It's unbelievable.
And guys, one of our LinkedIn users chimed in with a really great comment here. Oregon pilots on local and nationally FAA data is mind-blowing. And then they went on to add Eugene, Oregon. And I want to thank everybody in the chat. And I also want to comment because we have a lot of people tuned in right now. Folks out there, if you've had any encounters with drones or UAPs or something anomalous, let us know in the chat. We'll put it up here. We want to hear about it. And Michael Montes chimes in with something really disturbing. Looks like faces in the distortions.
Yeah.
And I can't deny that. Of course, Mick West would call that, pareidoia, I believe, where we kind of see faces in everything. But, I mean, hey, that's still pretty creepy. And, Andrew, one thing I wanted to point out, the light that was approaching from the left, my son and I, and Jay knows about this, my son and I noticed something in our neighborhood a couple of months ago, not that long ago. And at first, I thought it was a star, and then the star was moving. And we had to go out in the street to keep up with it. At this point, could it have been a satellite? Yes, because at an incredibly high altitude. But then it changed direction and it changed speed. And we literally had to take off sprinting up the street to try to keep up with it. And it was only after I reviewed the video did we realize there were other objects that appeared to be not only in the sky, but interacting with it and moving in completely anomalous ways. Thank you, LinkedIn user. The pilot is describing something that is similar to what my partner, my mother-in-law, and I saw in 2020 with the fireballs.
Wild.
Very interesting. And I want to play the back end of the video my son and I took. And I kind of, if I can get it bigger here. And
2 of them. Oh no, it was just one and another star.
Wait, there's something.
Oh, wow.
But watch what these do.
There's so much of them. They're like everywhere.
Oh, it's swimming.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you still see it with your eye?
Unbelievable. I see it. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
But watch this. We didn't look. We didn't notice something else come in. Oh, there's something else.
2 of them.
So I'm going to show it again.
That's
It literally
unbelievable.
zigzagging. Wait, there's something else though. Look at that. And there was at least one other thing. There went a bug. But Andrew, we chased these up the street.
It's about 2 inches on my phone, your video, and I can see it perfectly. So that's unreal. You know?
Okay. The interesting thing was, at some point, we could not detect them by our naked eye, but we could pick them up on the iPhone. And that was the trick I learned when the Northern Lights were down here, right? So I took some amazing pictures of the Northern Lights. Look at that. But at some point,
I had a similar thing happen to me, like a video like this. It almost looks identical because I thought they were satellites. And ever since this first event happened, the video we've been talking about, I've been looking up. Well, I've always looked up, but now I've kind of always got my phone ready, and it's actually pretty similar to that. And I think there's something to that because I've never seen a satellite, and I've watched a lot of them. I've never seen a satellite that swims around like it's underwater or crosses paths with and interacts with other ones,
Yeah, thanks to 9 Lives Energy for joining us tonight. Thank you. Be sure to follow my friend Chrissy on YouTube. Subscribe to her channel, 9 Lives Energy. She's got some great healing things happening over there. And that was, guys, a video my son and I took, and that was a special moment for us. And just so everybody knows, I admit it, I sent the videos to Mick West. And guess what? I've got the date. I'm going to pull up the information again. This was in Chatham County, North Carolina, 7:33 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, October 13th, 2024. The orientation is the first street in the cul-de-sac that comes to an end is facing in a roughly west-southwest direction. So that's date, time, location, direction, distance, all the things. And guess what? He has yet to debunk those videos. So I think that, is what it is. But I also sent that out to an astrophysicist friend of the show who told me they were going to analyze it. I haven't heard anything back.
He's like, well,
haven't heard anything back, but we've got a lot of astrophysicist friends of the show, and including those that look into the phenomenon. And I really, I think it's also telling that we haven't heard anything back from our astrophysicist friend. So thanks to everybody tuning in. We've got a whole lot of people watching right now, and it keeps growing, and we appreciate all of you. If you hadn't hit the subscribe button yet on our YouTube, please do. We really appreciate you, and the like button, and please comment. Let us know you're here. If you've had a drone encounter, if you've had a UAP encounter, or any kind of encounter for that matter, let us know in the chat. Andrew, you've also had some other really interesting video, and I'd like to put one of them up for everybody right now. And I don't think anybody's ever seen. Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever seen these. Maybe you could walk us through this, because I call this one the green orb, and I think it's really fascinating.
Sorry.
Oh my God, two fly right over us.
Yeah, this is like the New Jersey drones. This is I walked
really
outside.
Is.
Yeah, and I noticed it in South Carolina, and I was like, basically, they're here, and I've got multiple videos of it, some really weird ones. I just put them in our drive, before the show, just in case you guys were interested. I thought they were odd, and things got weirder after this. So.
There's no structure to it, but it looks like there's structure.
There's no structure. No, it looks like something mimicking, trying to, mimic our technology.
What is that, Mom? I think that might be. It just hovers.
The thing is, when I see that, and I love the comments.
One of those orbs, Mom, look.
Yeah, my mom's an angel, so.
You see, it's still going that way.
I don't. And look, there's a screenshot. I don't see airplane there.
No, that ain't no airplane.
No.
Andrew, I added those on at the end. Those were not a part, but I took a couple of screenshots there.
That's awesome.
Look at that, guys. I don't
like
have a very good explanation.
Yeah,
not just the color, but
shade of green on a plane.
Y'all tell me,
it's
what
emerald.
are we looking at here?
I mean, I've got my favorite theory for sure.
Let's hear it, Andrew.
All right, so I read, this was back in 2023, and I can probably send you the link later on. This was a whistleblower that appeared on Reddit, subreddit, and now, you can kind of take that with a grain of salt, but he seemed like, and this guy took hours and hours out of each day for like 3 weeks to answer these people's questions. He claimed he was, his claim was that he was dying of liver cancer, and I want you to keep in mind what the U.S. government has now said recently in 2024, that these things are coming from our oceans. We've been interacting with non-human intelligence. Well, back in 2023, this guy claimed that he was part of a high-level government, sect that monitored these things and was part of maybe crash retrievals. And he claims that there is a mobile, and I'm paraphrasing some of the stuff here, but you can go read it for yourself, that there is a mobile construction unit deep in our oceans. This one's off the Atlantic. It's only left the Atlantic Ocean twice. They believe that it's been here since 4000 BC. Now, the details he described, he let people basically ask questions, and the questions that he answered were so detailed, and it was, you can kind of tell if someone's kind of blowing, making stuff up, or this was so to the point, and so it sounded like a military guy answering questions. And he said that they build this mobile unit is an artificially intelligent driven unit. It's a massive UFO essentially in our waters. They build these drones. He called them drones. He said back in the day they used to see more crafts with pilots, not so much anymore. They build these drones to spec every time. And what's odd is, remember the orange spheres in my first video? He mentioned those before I even read this. I saw the orange spheres. Then I go back. I read this, and he claimed the orange spheres are research crafts. They are essentially research and science crafts. And they said that, for example, if the AI, if they say they want, or whatever says they need a craft for research and development, they build that drone or that craft to spec with tools and everything it needs for that specific task. He said the same number always go out. Sometimes they go out of the planet, but they always return to what he called the MCU, which is the Mobile Construction Unit. He said that they are mimicking our technology to now basically fly with impunity, as if they were already doing. But think about, I've seen so many comments, in TikTok where people are like, "Oh, that's a plane, that's a plane." What better disguise? It's not stealth. It's not. It's the familiar. It is so familiar to people to just look up and be like, "Oh yeah, that looks like a plane." What better, what better clandestine use of? That's what I think. That's my personal view. I think that a lot of these orbs and what these people are calling drones, and there's no structure to them, yet they have FAA lights. I think it's some sort of kind of mimic approach.
That's a great theory. I really like that. At first I was calling this the green orb because when the video first starts, it sure enough looks like a green orb. But I think that we need a new name for this. I mean, it has a very, what would you call it? Bow tie shape, infinity shape.
That's what I thought.
You took the word out of my mouth. I think we were all probably thinking the same thing on that one.
Me too. Half green, half white bow tie.
Mm-hmm. So. It's almost like it's like, I don't know, something spitting out the front of it like a triangle. And how long did that craft stay in that area, or you don't know that, do you?
The crazy part of about it was, like, I've lived here 25 years and I've never seen so much traffic in the sky, and these things were everywhere, and you could tell it was unnatural. I know I'm getting like a little worked up, but it was that exciting. And even my mom, who doesn't give a rip about any of this stuff, she's a Christian woman, so I'm a Christian myself, but that's my personal view. She doesn't care, but even she was kind of like getting a little unnerved. They were everywhere, and they were moving slowly throughout the sky, but it's as if they were going nowhere and coming from nowhere. They were just appearing and just moving around.
And that really does sound a lot like what's happening in New Jersey right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Smitty. Smitty, go ahead.
I was going to say, Jay, do you know what the altitude is that you can finally fly a drone before you have to get like FAA approval or anything?
I want to say anywhere from, ground level to 1,000 feet.
That's what I was thinking. We actually, some local football teams were trying to fly drones above practice field. And I think they got in a little bit of trouble. They didn't get permission. And so they got a little bit, they told them if they didn't stop, they were going to fine them a good bit of money.
Well, here's the thing. Like, they knew that you guys were doing that, but they got these drones flying all over New Jersey right now, and they couldn't tell you, where they came from or anything, right? I mean, I think the government's just full of, what.
I do too, 100%.
And I know there's a lot more regulations in New Jersey than there is here in North Mississippi, I'm sure.
Well,
I think our government at this point knows that the community and the public do not trust them or for anything. And I think it would be asinine for them not to, when they have the chance to gain repute and trust with their people again, here they are just blowing it. They're not even, so.
Well,
I don't know.
Tim made a valid point to me the other day. With all this stuff going on, where's Arrow?
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know where Arrow is. We don't know where NORAD is. It's almost like, hey, if they just say drone, then Arrow's out. Yeah. We're out of here, guys. And I think it feels like they say drone and UAS to literally get Arrow out of their business. I don't know where NORAD is, but we talked about drones and regulations. I want to bring up one thing that was interesting in the last Arrow report, the annual report that Arrow put out. Mm-hmm. So it had an incident in there that involved the J.C. Cook power plant in Michigan, I'm pretty sure. And a drone was discovered at the power plant. Security took possession of the drone and turned it over to local law enforcement. I said, hey, I can FOIA that. So All Things Unexplained FOIA'd local law enforcement. We got the police report. And the FBI contacted the local police, identified the drone. It was basically one of the drones that you can go buy. And the FBI made off with it, right? And you can guarantee somebody got a knock on the door from the FBI. But this raises more questions than it does answers to me. When you think about how swiftly the FBI was able to come in on this, how quickly the power plant took possession of the drone and got it over to the local police, and that was a basic drone, right? A basic hobbyist or commercial drone there. And we have some great listener unexplained one interaction here. I want to say I appreciate the listeners on LinkedIn tonight. Thank you, Chris P. Mimic technology is correct. AI mimics flights using IoT and adaptive software. That's a great response from LinkedIn. I would expect nothing less from the LinkedIn people. And he said earlier they have structure. We've seen them here in Jersey. They're just big drones. That's definitely a possibility, Chris. And he said that what he thought you were talking about earlier, Andrew, might be called Alltech, and it's where we do submarine rescue team drills. I think rescue is what he meant. It's not alien. Maybe not.
Maybe not. No.
We'll see about that. And Michael Montes chimed in, and again, he saw a face in the bow tie UFO video. Could be. I mean, the hitchhiker effect. I want to highlight listener Nathaniel J. Gillis. One of our best videos and one of the best shows we've ever done was CJ and Nathaniel Gillis. Folks, if you hadn't checked out that video, it is crazy. And Nathaniel talks about the phenomenon mimicking things like demons and using our own perceptions or view of reality to present itself in a manner that we can sometimes more easily understand, sometimes to put us at ease, sometimes to put us at fear. Sometimes we don't know.
That's my personal view.
Yeah, and all I can tell you, and I can't say much about this, but we've had people on the show who we go off the air. We're not live anymore. And they're on here to talk about something like astrophysics, for example. And then they tell us about paranormal or supernatural experiences that they've had. And I'll just say this, it lines up real well with what Nathaniel Gillis told CJ here on All Things Unexplained. So check out their video, please. Chris P., y'all were talking about altitude in the drones earlier. He said 525 feet. And he also thinks drones are coming from a container ship off the coast. Is it Iranian? I don't know. That's been in the news. We're gonna hit that in just a minute. So thank you for that, Chris. And Ralph, thank you, Ralph, for joining us over on X. And new visitors, I don't know.
Hey, Andrew, I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The first videos that we were watching, how could you tell how big the biggest object was, and also how big the littler object was? Meaning, like we've been hearing reports of like SUV size,
Yeah.
and
I know exactly what you're saying. The three objects I saw, which I thought was unlike anything that, a lot of these drones, what people are seeing, like I said, they look like they either are somebody's technology or mimicking technology. The three objects I saw were far, far larger. And why I think it's so strange, if I had to put it into perspective, if I had to guess, let's say a 747. Does anyone know like how long a 747 is off the top of their head?
737 feet.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. Let's say three fighter jets. So that's what 120 feet. Am I right? Yeah. So let's just say 120 feet. These things had the orange objects. I would say were maybe twice the size of that, and the white one 4 times.
Wow.
And look at that.
Again, go ahead.
We're a little zoomed out here, and it even has even more clarity.
And like you said, you remember you talked about those like little black objects around it?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Yeah, you see those?
Yep. And we've heard speculation, not only about the phenomenon, but about these drones too, that they could have the ability to distort time, space around them, or energy fields around them. And we've had actually Kevin Knuth brought that up with us, and he's a member of an organization called UAPX who studies the phenomenon. It's a group of scientists that studied the phenomenon. And Kevin Knuth, you've seen him on Encounters on Netflix, and A Tear in the Sky, I believe that's on Gaia. And Kevin Knuth told us, people talk about never been able to get clear videos and that sort of thing, but he said and he brought up one case in specific. I think it was in Brazil where they filmed a UFO crossing a field of some sort, and you could clearly see some sort of distortion around the object. So that was interesting, and we could be looking at evidence of some sort of distortion around this object here that you captured, Andrew. And again, I'm not sure if anybody's ever really seen an object like this. One thing I've always found intriguing about the reports on UAPs is they always classify and redact shapes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. People have wondered that. And now I wonder, is bow tie one of the shapes?
Yeah. If I could I make one more point too?
Absolutely.
A lot of people talk about theories and whatnot. Like I told you my view, I saw a lot of comments on TikTok were like, "Oh, it's our government, it's their contractor, it's a contractor." Why I don't think that's the case is, imagine if one of these. Now there are hundreds, thousands of these drones, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds and thousands flying around the world, flying all over states with impunity. Imagine if one of these things, just one, crashed into a school or crashed into a van carrying a family on the highway. Can you imagine the trouble they would be in when distrust is at its height? I think that's almost, it'd be ludicrous. They don't even let black programs test overpopulated areas, supposedly. I'm not saying our government's not capable of that, but I think they would be taking a massive risk that they would not even be willing to touch.
No, you're right. And you know what?
We've got secret testing ranges for that stuff,
We're going to bring that up again here and soon, this notion of whether it's us or not. And I can tell you two things based on what you just said, Andrew. One, it wasn't that long ago here in central North Carolina, we lost a fighter jet. Yeah. I think a lot of people forgot about that. You remember that, Andrew?
Oh, yeah, I remember.
The pilot ejected, and we don't know exactly why. And he came down somewhere in central North Carolina, and he went to somebody's house and and called 911, used the house phone, dialed 911. And it's so interesting. We don't know why he ejected. We don't know if the jet was on autopilot of some sort or what. We don't know where exactly it came down. We don't know if it crashed, if it actually just landed. But all I know is I was in Greensboro, North Carolina when they were still searching for it. And the sky was filled with drones that day, military-type drones.
Yep.
And Jay has seen that video. It's on our Twitter at AT Unexplained. and they were just streaming back and forth. And I'm convinced that they were looking for that fighter jet, and that proved that major population centers were within the what I would call strike zone of that jet's landing area. So, but what did they tell the public? Nothing. Now you think about that. A fighter jet is missing. It's going to come down somewhere. It doesn't have a pilot.
Yeah.
And they told the public literally nothing about it. And so, and we've had Matthew Roberts on recently, and I was with him. I was convinced, definitely after talking to him, he was involved with the gimbal and go fast incidents. And, you know, I was convinced that it's not us, but I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to come back to this
No,
notion.
I understand what you're saying. Absolutely.
Andrew, you also had another intriguing video here.
Again, it was like back to back to back.
They are officially in South Carolina for sure.
And I know what people are going to say, oh, it's a plane, but if you had seen this in person, even my dad, who, like I said, again, does not care about this stuff, was like, what the hell is this?
Oh, wow.
And there were 3 that flew over this low. 25 years, this has never happened. Oh, this is okay.
It's got the green, it's got that green.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were all over the air. They were everywhere. And it was right when it got dark. All day long, nothing. No planes, nothing. Right when it gets dark, they just appear and go nuts.
I just saw one huge fly over our house. It was massive.
How big do you think that was, Andrew?
Good Lord. That one was probably what I would say was probably like 2 to 3 SUVs.
So like a bus size?
Yeah, and the thing was, if you know, a lot of people I've been tracking this now, and all the videos on TikTok, you'll see people be like, oh, it's a plane, but everyone's saying if you were there, it was not a plane. It looks like they were trying to make it look like a plane, but I promise you it was no plane. It was so close to me.
They are officially in South Carolina.
And the thing was, it had lights on it that didn't make sense. You know, I know what landing lights look like. You know, there's some kind of uniformity to them. These had, at one point, it looked like the front of it was like bursting with gold, and it looked like it was going to explode. And it was like these golden flashes. They were beautiful. It was mind blowing, and no one can convince me that that was something normal. There were no windows on it, so it was plain looking. Sure, there were no windows.
I'm infatuated with the color. It's like a neon green color almost.
Yes, it's very emerald.
Yes, exactly.
Fly over our house.
And three of them back to back flew over our house. And each one looks like it looked like a plane, but it looked wildly different in terms of the lighting. There were lights that were off, lights that would just appear. And I'm not talking about like flashing lights. These were like almost like the spheres in the first video. Like they were almost like molten looking. You know, it was very strange.
And you couldn't see any other silhouette beyond the colors. Like you couldn't see like any kind of like. It's kind of hard to say. Black on black, you know, black sky with a black object in between, like the lights or anything like that. Okay.
Mm-mm.
And you know the timing of this, and how long ago do you think this was, Andrew?
This was last night. Yeah, that was last night.
Okay, wow, last night. So that you know what the timing of this. I mean, we're so close to the East Coast here, and we've got incursions over Langley. This is a perfect time to segue into these drone incursions that's all over the place. And folks, if you see any breaking news on the drones on Twitter or anywhere else, please let us know. Listener 9 Lives Energy said if there was a drone accident, they would lie and stage a false flag event to make it look like it was a shooter or some BS explosion, and the media tells propaganda to the public and they believe it.
Yeah,
that's nail on the head.
I agree. I'm so far beyond trusting our government. Like they could tell me that the sky was blue, and I would think they were full of it. You know.
JP chimed in on YouTube. I'm currently driving. Wow, thank you. Be careful out there, JP. It's hard for me to reply. Will this live be saved and posted on the channel? Absolutely. It's going to be there as soon as the show is done. It'll be there on our YouTube.
Awesome. You
can not only tune in, but you can join the live replay of the chat as well. It will also be on our Twitter at all things at AT Unexplained. And the replay will be available on LinkedIn as well. And Andrew, Jay, Smitty, I want to bring up something here. So here recently, you know, they're basically telling us there's nothing to see here with these drone incursions. But then Defense Department spokesperson Air Force Major General Pat Ryder gave a briefing with the Pentagon and issued a new classified strategy regarding UASs. And here's one of those acronyms they pulled out of nowhere, and I'm convinced to get rid of Arrow and to put the public at ease as well. UASs, aka drones. And I just want to share a little clip of that with everybody if I can get it up on stage. This is from our Twitter. And by the way, this actually kind of blew up for us. This had, as you can see, 223. It's at roughly 224,000 views right now.
Wow.
And Ross Coulthard shared this. And interestingly, I got to scroll on Twitter and I was just looking. I was like, wait, there's our video. No credit though, but there's our video because it still had our logo on there. But here he is talking about the new classified strategy for UASs.
Quick second question. You talked about this new classified strategy. And you had talked before about that there were some incursions, particularly down in Virginia, over military facilities, and there's been others. Is there anything in the strategy that's more tactical that allows commanders to do anything, or is this just a broad statement of policy?
Of course, it's got all kinds of good information, but it's classified, so I can't talk about it. No. So really, Lita, again, recognizing that the strategy is classified, we will have an unclassified fact sheet that we'll be providing soon. Really, just kind of looking at how we'll approach this. One is ensuring that the department is prepared to conduct counter unmanned system operations, counter UAS operations. Two is looking at how we respond to incidents that do occur by pulling together subject matter experts and resources. And then third is tracking equipment and counter UAS equipment, UAS as one aspect of drones. So really, again, broad brush. It's kind of looking at this in a comprehensive and cohesive way. Again, I'm not going to go into the specific tactics, techniques, procedures at this point, but it enables the department to approach this in a way, again, that's comprehensive, cohesive, and holistic.
Quick second question.
Okay, guys, y'all got that comprehensive, cohesive, holistic. And by the way, later he said agnostic. These are the terms to describe. Yeah, these are the terms to describe our new classified strategy for dealing with UASs: comprehensive, cohesive, agnostic. I mean, what in the world is going on here? But and he talked about bringing in subject matter experts. And Smitty, I'm really going to want you to chime in here at some point as we delve deeper into these drone incursions, because Smitty's our history expert and Mr. J is our one of our military experts here, and at just what exactly is going on. And I wondered immediately, and Andrew, you may have some thoughts on this, but let me start with Smitty. When you hear the military's bringing in subject matter experts to help with drones, I mean, have you ever heard of anything like that in military history?
I haven't. Have you, Jay?
No.
I mean,
that's a new one.
I always go back to the fact that we're so secretive that during World War II, Harry Truman, who was the Vice President of the United States, supposedly the second most powerful man in the U.S., didn't even know the atomic bomb existed until FDR died. And that just, to me, that's always just been such a huge shock when I found that out, that this person who was supposed to be second line to presidency had no idea that we had that nuclear power, that atomic power to destroy other nations until he took over the main chair there as president. So no, I haven't heard of that particular thing happen in our military.
I mean, I've heard one theory that perhaps, hey, the military needs these private company drone experts to come in and help them with this situation. But is that really believable or not, Jay?
I mean, well, the government has their own research and development programs, right? And as far as I know, I lost my train of thought. Ask that question again, Tim.
Yeah, does bringing in private subject matter experts, does that really sound right for the military?
I mean, no, not really. It doesn't, man. They've got manufacturers like Boeing and stuff like that make their aircrafts and stuff, or help make them anyway. I could see Lockheed and Skunk Works and all that, but in a nutshell, man, I just think they're full of it.
Well, and they released their fact sheet, and Jay and I, you have talked about this extensively. But they had a couple of what I found to be really disturbing things, and one thing I still find it to be heavily disturbing from the fact sheet, and especially given what we're looking at here happening along the East Coast for sure, happening over our sensitive areas like military facilities and nuclear facilities for sure, happening to people like Andrew. And on this fact sheet, it said that we have drone operators who have no combat or field experience, no battlefield experience whatsoever, that have 1,500 confirmed kills with drones. This is not modern warfare on PlayStation, folks. This is real life. This is mind-blowing. And in conjunction with that fact sheet, it was somewhere else. Oh, absolutely. And it was somewhere else in conjunction with that fact sheet. And I do not think this was a coincidence. It said that one operator is able to control 1,500 different drones. They are released from some sort of mothership or station base, right? And each pre-programmed with a specific target. Maybe it's a specific human target. And one operator can go out 1,500 different drones. And this is confirmed. This was in the fact sheet. One operator has 1,500 confirmed kills. No battlefield experience whatsoever. Shocking. What's y'all's reaction to that? Andrew,
that scares me to death. It puts it back on the table that it very well could be our government or some private contractor. I don't think it's another country. I just don't see that. You've got Russia, whose military resources are mostly depleted. I'd say, not mostly, but they're not in any position to be picking a fight with America at this point. But it terrifies me, and the whole game, the whole idea of all this is so muddied. At this point, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, cloak and dagger nonsense that they're always doing, and sad to see.
I want to throw it to Smitty. Smitty, I want your historical perspective on here. For those that don't know, Smitty is a Civil War reenactor. Smitty and I grew up in Mississippi together, not far from Shiloh, Mississippi, where the Battle of Shiloh happened, one of the bloodiest battles in the history of combat. And there's a pond there, Bloody Pond. It's what it's called because during the battle, right, Smitty, there was so much bloodshed. The pond literally was blood red. It was filled with blood. And it's one of the true places I've ever been where I felt like I was surrounded by ghosts or souls or spirits, because I knew every step I took was where great bloodshed had happened and tremendous death. Smitty, how do you put this in the context of historical, the historical perspective, the fact that we have drone operators that can have 1,500 confirmed kills?
I mean, that's insane. I mean, there was a guy in Finland when they fought, I believe it's Finland, fought the Russians. He was a sniper, had 600 confirmed kills. That was like an insane amount. They called him the White Death. But, the thing about the drone is it leaves us plausible deniability. When you don't have boots on the ground, That could be anybody's technology. And so for that to take place, it's hard to believe, though, that a person could sit in a room in an air conditioner and do this much damage. But that's the point we got to. I was thinking when we talked about this, think about 20 years ago, we wouldn't even said the word drone, hardly. I didn't know what really a drone was 20 years ago. And now you can walk right into Academy Sporting Goods or wherever, you can order them on Amazon and all of these things. I just think it's amazing. I believe that our government covers up so much stuff that we don't know what the actual capabilities we have for military missions.
You're right.
In a way. Sorry.
No, nowhere. And Mr. J, you're a veteran. You served in Afghanistan. What do you think when you hear about a drone operator with 1,500 confirmed kills?
Oh man, that's just mind blowing. That's mind blowing. To have somebody in Arizona flying a drone, sipping on a Mai Tai, and having that many. I mean, Chris Kyle didn't even have anywhere near that many confirmed kills. And I don't know. And here's another thing too. Now they're starting to put artificial intelligence into drone swarms. You get these tiny little drones and say, I want, and you spit out hundreds of them at one time, and each one's got a different target. I mean, we're in a new age, boys. A new age.
And you brought up Call of Duty, and I think that's kind of funny and almost sad in a way, because a lot of these guys. In respect to you, Jay, for serving our country, I've got enormous respect for our military. Maybe not our government, but absolutely our military. They lay their lives down and sacrifice so much. But a lot of these kids are probably fresh out of high school or fresh out of JRTC, and they're basically playing Call of Duty, and essentially they don't really understand what it means to be in the trenches, or it's almost like a new World War I. It was the first mechanized warfare, and it was almost so brutal, and they had no idea what they were facing. It's like we're moving into like another phase of that, because we've got these insane drones out there, and these kids they don't see their buddies dying. To them, it's a big screen, it's a video game. They don't really grasp the concept of I've just taken 1,500 souls off of this planet. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, really difficult to put it into ethical, moral, and religious perspectives as well. Just thinking about that, that could be one day at the office, y'all. That could be one day and one mission. It's really, really frightening. Nine Lives Energy says, right, Andrew. I think that was a great point by Andrew. And something else that made me think of, and we'll wrap it up about that part, is Mr. J and I, we're down the road from a facility, an underground facility that has always been rumored to play a role in continuity of government, COG. And, it occurred to me, if one drone operator can send out 1,500 different pre-programmed drones and take out 1,500 different people, imagine 1,000 drone operators. How quickly, here's the thing, and I've heard other people say this, there would be no need for large-scale weapons like nuclear weapons. In a matter of moments, our entire continuity of government, political, leadership, law enforcement, could be taken out in no time flat.
Yeah.
That is terrifying. We've had reports of these objects being over FBI officials' homes. Frightening, right? We've had reports of them being over politicians' homes. And there's a lot of rumors behind the scenes here that we're dealing with something very frightening. And this is part of why we're seeing the response from our military leaders that we're seeing. Jessica Green on YouTube says Alex Dietrich apparently had an enormous kill count. That's a good point. Of course, Alex, I believe, was involved with the Tic Tac incident. off with the Nimitz. So that, thank you, Jessica. Another thing from that fact sheet, guys, is it brought up something down the road from Jay and I again too, and actually from Andrew, you as well. Moore County, North Carolina. This was in the news recently. 2 years ago, somebody shot up the substation. Okay, took out the power to the whole county, and here we are 2 years later. They still don't know who did it. Somebody died in that incident, an elderly lady. She didn't have her equipment that she needed because of the power being out, and she passed away. The media tried to pass this off on just several things, ludicrous things like rednecks just out shooting the guns off. That never made sense to Jay or I, because why would anybody do that to their own friends and family? No, nobody does that. They also blamed it on protesters protesting a drag queen story time at the local library or school.
That's outlandish.
Yes, for sure. Who says you know what? I'm gonna put a stop to this drag queen show story time. Knocking the power out at that one place by going and shooting the substation up. Okay, I've been told by sources, and Jay, you know this too, that involved military grade weaponry and ammunition, and whoever did that knew precisely where to strike that substation to take it out. Now, in this fact sheet, it said we had a guy in Tennessee that was planning to use a UAS to take out a large swath of the American power grid. He literally wanted to send us into chaos. And that man in Tennessee had used these substation attacks with weapons as research and decided, you know what? I can take a drone and I can take out a large swath of the American power grid. And the news has been trying to get the power companies and the substations, the electrical companies, to tell us what sort of upgrades, security upgrades they've been working on, and they won't say. But now it's become clear to me that the security upgrades they're working on are for drones. Think about it. Think about what we just talked about with what one drone operator is capable of doing, and then think about, so far as we know, our power grid, our nuclear facilities, they have no capability of detecting drones or stopping drones. Smitty, what's your thought on that?
That's really scary, because, I mean, you know, that's the biggest thing about any sort of aircraft. Jay knows we can pick it up for the most part. You know, you look at 9/11, we knew that only one plane was still in the air, and that was Flight 93. And all the other commercial airliners were on the ground. So to have something that we can't pick up, and it's pretty scary, especially when it comes to the point and knocking out the essential things that most people rely on and need, including myself, you know, electricity and those things. And that's really scary about that substation.
You knock something like that out, it'll send you back to the Stone Ages, it seems like. You know, nobody would know what to do.
Yep.
Most of us, including myself, are unprepared. And, you know, I don't have a hoard of bottled water or a hoard of food stocked up. And I just don't, because, you know, when I grew up, you know, my grandfather fought in World War II, you know, and I used to listen to him tell me the few stories he would. And, like, America just felt safer, you know, and, you know, we've all become so complacent, you know, and just kind of doing what the government tells us to do, you know. And I saw a funny thing on the internet, you know, the Revolutionary War was essentially fought over 2% tax, you know, a 2% tax increase. And here we are, you know, taking all this BS from our government, and it's almost not even safe to be here anymore, you know, and it's just sad.
Yep, that's a good point. And, you know, guys, I don't know if y'all remember, but let me see. No, I'm not going to do that. Let me see if I could play this clip. We had Tom Medlin on All Things Unexplained back in February of 2023. Remember when we shot down 3 UFOs over Super Bowl weekend, February 2023?
Yep.
Let me see if I can get this pulled up. Well, he came on back then, And he basically said, because they tried to blame it on a Pico balloon, and Tom, he is a Pico balloon expert. He essentially built the balloon for all intents and purposes that they said was shot down over the Yukon or over Dead Horse, Alaska. And we also asked him, because they released a new picture. The Canadian Defense Ministry was FOIA'd, and they released a really kind of odd looking picture of what they said the Yukon object was. And I wanted to hear Tom's thoughts on that again. So I emailed him. He was kind enough to talk to us again.
As far as the trackers, and you can track it around the world, we build our own trackers under a microscope. I was going to show you some little parts tonight on the end of the tweezer. It's smaller than a gnat. Some of the parts are really, really small. We can actually build a tracker that will transmit 9,000 kilometers. It's easy to see on our maps. There's a map that shows tracking, and you can see our balloons. Let's say if it's over the Atlantic Ocean, you can see that it's being picked up in Australia and all over Europe and maybe in Hong Kong and Japan. So you can see all the places in the world that this balloon is actually being picked up. They pick that data up and they put it in the internet. Then it goes to the tracking website and it's plots on the map.
The balloons, your Pico balloons typically drop 20,000 feet.
Well, our Pico balloons, they can, but that means they've got a hole in them. And if they get a leak, they're going to come down. They're going to come down. Some come down a little slow. They leak out over days. Some come down fast. We've lost balloons in the deserts. We've lost them in the ocean. We've lost a lot of balloons in the early days. We don't have anything to maneuver our balloon. It just goes with the wind. These things fly at altitudes where civilian aircraft fly. And that's actually the only reason the government gave for shooting it down. These things are a hazard to aviation, so we shot it down. That's the only reason they had, if you remember and think back. But if you really think about this, we're flying under regulations of the Federal Aviation Agency today. The Federal Aviation Agency, they do all kinds of tests. They shoot chickens and birds into jet engines, and they freeze them, and they do this, and they do all this testing, and they have regulations. And we fly under FAA 101 exempt regulations, meaning that we're complying with the FAA. And I think the FAA feels like that there is no danger. There are hundreds and hundreds of balloons up there, and typically you don't see them. Think of this. Take a cork and throw it out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and just think, hey, that's a balloon up in the sky. Is the ship going to hit that cork? I don't know. If it did, it probably wouldn't hurt it.
Right. That's a great example. I thought that was a great point from Tom Medlin. And, NORAD tried to convince us that this is indeed what they scrambled fighter jets after, was Pico balloons with a payload the size of a postage stamp that is flying under FAA regulations already. Completely ridiculous. That image that the Canadian Defense Ministry released, you could see a dot in the center of it. And according to Tom, when I spoke with him recently, hey, this clearly, whatever that dot is, it's probably a payload, and it's clearly of significant size to show up in the picture. There's no way that is a postage stamp size payload from a Pico balloon. Right. And so not only that, but we asked Tom, and his response was terrifying. I asked him, what do you think about these drone incursions, Tom? And he said it reminds him of an intelligence gathering mission. That these sensitive sites, that they could be looking at things like roads, vehicles. Where are the vehicles? Are there holes under the fences? Where are the guards? How many are in each station? Where's the ammunition at? What are the comings and goings and the times of them, and people swapping out and that sort of thing. And Tom was afraid that what we are witnessing is intelligence gathering for, and I want to preface before I say this, that I don't want to frighten anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that this is the case or that this is going to happen. Okay. But Tom was afraid that this could be sign of an imminent terrorist attack, a 9/11 level terrorist attack that we are seeing in this intelligence gathering.
Right.
And that was Tom Medlin's take. Andrew?
Yeah, it's I think they call it IBP. I think it's initial battlefield preparation. Jay, am I correct with that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Reconnaissance. It's reconnaissance.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah, so just terrifying. Jay, go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Japan did the same thing before they hit Pearl Harbor, didn't they? If I'm not mistaken, they floated over balloons.
They did. And we actually had some intelligence that attack was going to happen, but we ignored it. So, and then in the Battle of Midway, we broke the Japanese codes, and that was very important. We did that reconnaissance, and we knew exactly where they were going to be, when they were going to be there, and we destroyed that fleet pretty effectively.
Yes.
When you say broke the codes, was that the Enigma machine that they cracked, or?
No, that was Germany. Germany had the Enigma machine. That was Alan Turing.
Right.
Alan Turing.
Yeah.
No, we just broke the Japanese code, and we knew where they were going to be, when they were going to be there, and it would be like me telling you where I was going to pitch a ball. The next ball is going to be a change up over the right corner, and I could just take it over the
knock
fence.
it out of the park.
Yeah. So.
Well, to take things to a whole other level, and Jay, did you have something there?
I did. To go back to Andrew, your drone sightings and videos. In any way, did you feel like you were in danger? Your family was in danger? Your neighborhood? These craft flying over.
I guess it's hard to kind of spectate on that. Like when no one's really scared until the bullets start flying. Essentially, you know what I mean? But it was unsettling, 100%. Just like the first video, we were just kind of in awe and almost not really scared or confused, but just kind of really just awestruck. It was unnerving for sure. Like it was a little, I'd say, intense. There was an ominous feeling for sure.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Yeah.
Well, it sounded like you guys had a good time, man.
That's a great question. It's the great times, understandable. Smitty and Jay and I had a great time at a Bigfoot festival in Crossville, Tennessee, not that long ago. And when I always say, when you get outside, and you experience nature, you can be looking for Bigfoot, you can be looking for UFOs, but you're going to connect with a deeper part of nature, and you're going to connect with a deeper part of yourself, and it's just inevitable, and it's something that happens ironically when you disconnect from technology and get out there. We have a lot of people tuned in right now, guys, and I want to say thanks. They're on YouTube, they're on X, they're on LinkedIn right now. Wherever you're at, thank you for joining us tonight. Let us know you're here in the comments. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're closing in on 16,000 subscribers on YouTube. Be sure to comment, be sure to like this video and share it when you can. And we appreciate you, and we want to hear from you. Unexplained ones, thanks to all of you for being here. So to muddy the waters even more, and frankly, this should have gotten a lot more attention than it did, Jeff Van Drew had this to say to Fox News recently. Let me pull this up. Iran launched a mothership. This is Jeff Van Drew to Fox News.
Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. That mothership is off. I'm going to tell you the deal. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones. Is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly. Iran launched a mothership.
Did that come through better?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jeff Van Drew to Fox News. Iran launched a mothership, or launched drones from a mothership onto these facilities. And you know what? Frankly, into the suburbs too, over people's neighborhoods on the East Coast. One thing that we've been noticing for a while, and Jay and I have been talking about this for a while, is that there are some commonalities in these locations. And two of them being, one, a sensitive facility, military facility, nuclear facility, and then 2, being close proximity to water, to a coastline. And for me, that was hard to overlook. Smitty, history expert, Civil War reenactor, put this into perspective for us. All of a sudden, on national news, we have a congressperson or a politician reveal, their sources tell them that a foreign adversary, Iran, attack, is that the right word? That's all I can think of. But they've launched drones against us. What's your perspective on that, historical perspective, Smitty?
Historically, that seems to be an act of aggression. We've never had anyone do anything like that unless their intentions were evil. We even had some German submarines and Japanese come up on some of our coast. Of course, at the time that happened, we were actually at war. They didn't literally do anything on the east or west coast, but we know how Hawaii went with Pearl Harbor. So this is not a good sign, for sure.
And to go back to the Chinese spy balloon flew all over the country. And,
wild.
What do you say about that? They went over all of our bases and got God knows what kind of information, and they waited until it was off the East Coast so nobody would get hurt, even though you could have shot it down in the cornfield in Arkansas or Nebraska. It don't make any sense to me.
Was there not a third common factor? Is those areas, are they highly populated or not? Where these drones are being released?
No, you're right. We're dealing with major population centers along the East Coast here. And so this raises some questions. Number one, is the reason we're seeing more of these things here simply because we have more eyes on the sky here and more technology and capability, more platforms for detecting these things? Is that why? Is this happening over Montana, for example? Jay has brought up one really disturbing theory to me, and I think that, again, maybe Smitty could provide some historical context to this, is what if we are being distracted here by what's happening on the East Coast, and what is really happening is somewhere over Alaska or somewhere over the West Coast? And Jay, you brought this over with me recently. Hey, who have we got closer to the West Coast? Who have we got in terms of adversaries? Who have we got closer to Alaska? So, Smitty, does any historical conflicts come to mind where we had this major distraction at play here, and then the real thing was happening somewhere else?
Yeah, exactly. The D-Day invasion. We sent out fake radio signals to the Germans. They intercepted them. We actually set a fake army up, and they went and took most of their troops up to that area, and we attacked Normandy Beach and were able to successfully go ahead and take back France. So yeah, it's just like a magician. If you see what this hand's doing, you're not watching what this hand's doing.
Yeah, it reminds me of the art of war as well,
Yeah.
And I want to tell our listeners, because I'm trying to also track things on Twitter right now. And so, listeners, if you see any breaking news on Twitter regarding the drones and the drone incursions, let us know, please. And also, if you have your own encounters, experiences, let us know in the chat. I am hesitant to say this next username, but I'm just going to say it. Teabag the World joins us.
Yeah.
Classic.
Tonight. I've barely been hearing about the technology these drones are using to disable other drones around it and mess with people's phones. Startling, but you know what? Hey, this is not new information. Jay, you had your own encounter with an object, a triangular object that had an effect on technology.
Yeah, so I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was quite a while ago. And me and my daughter and my son, we were just watching a movie, and I noticed off in the distance that I seen a light coming up out of out of the tree line, and it rose and it rose and it rose, and I started walking outside, and I told the kids to come out, and just before that, I got ahead of myself, sorry. My internet shut off, DirecTV got shut off. We couldn't use any of the phones. And the only thing that had worked was my daughter's mini iPad, and she tried to shoot what was happening, and the craft was so quiet. I mean, I don't know, you think of how tall an oak tree was, and it was probably 50 or 60 foot higher than that.
Yeah, so
But
yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
And it just moved, and it wasn't too long after that I looked back over, there was another one that did the same thing, same path, and then an additional one, and every time all the electronics would shut off. We couldn't get any kind of service whatsoever.
Just crazy. And that's just right down the road for me here. And
yeah.
Andrew, I just want to make sure you're doing okay on time with us tonight right now.
Yeah, I'm good. I work Monday through Friday, so I'm actually, I'm good. Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, because we have a lot of people tuned in right now. I want to say shout out to UFO Busters, our friends from that UFO show in Australia. Smitty, can you read their comment with your Australian accent, which is spot on?
Hello, guys. Throw some shrimp on the barbie.
Smitty's still waiting on his Vegemite sandwich to arrive from UFO Busters at UFO Show Australia. Check them out on YouTube. Friends of the show. We really appreciate them. Teabag the World is back with us. These things are draining batteries. What the hell are they using? Just like you were saying, Jay, and we've got reports of this. And I want to say, I'm just scrolling through Twitter here right now. From UAP Reporting Center, Senator Gillibrand says, or is it Gillibrand, these drones are using technologies that are unfamiliar. Here, how mind-blowing is it? Now, this is part of the problem, folks. We have senators saying things like this.
Yes.
And then we have the Pentagon telling us that essentially we are all experiencing a mass hysteria delusion. And by the way, they're also yeah. And so again, I'm trying to think of another moment in history like this. Smitty, does anything come to mind?
Not anything quite like this. I mean, honestly, it's wild, and it's weird that a couple of times here recently, where we used to work, there was phone service has been out on a whole network of people on multiple occasions in the last 3 or 4 months. I don't know what's up with that. It's just odd. It'll be like one carrier is fine, another carrier is not, and it reverses occasionally. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it's strange.
And to speak on the Iran subject, the Iran mothership out in the ocean, it echoes a lot of what I was saying with the possibly AI-driven mobile construction unit. That's a theory. But also, I heard, and I don't know how credible this is, I think that the Pentagon actually refuted the Iranian claim, and they've actually got they do know that the Iranians have a mothership that launches drones, but I'm pretty sure there is a satellite image now floating around of it actually docked. It's not actually near us, and pretty much would kind of rebuttal, that claim in its totality.
And I actually want to bring up some of this on Twitter real quick. Here's our friend Ross Coulthart. We are still waiting to find out where the giant UFO is that was so big they couldn't move it and had to put a building on top of it. But
I'm looking forward to that one.
But I digress. So Ross Coulthart said, this is 39 minutes ago, hard to keep up with the volume of information coming in the door right now on the drones. And guys, this is kind of frightening. We just talked about the possibility that we're being distracted on the East Coast. What's happening on the West Coast? Well, here is some news from Oregon. This is coming from pilots 2 pilots flying above Oregon reported seeing UFOs, which demonstrated instantaneous acceleration in colorful lights at an altitude of 50,000 feet.
Wow.
Apparently, the quote is, "They zipped toward us, then darted back to the ocean." There we go again, the coastline. Things don't change direction like that unless it's not an aircraft at all. Let's see what he had to say.
Red in color.
Can y'all hear that?
Moving
Yes.
at extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast he's moving. You are cleared to maneuver as necessary, left and right, to avoid the UFO out there.
This is Joe communicating with air traffic control while he was piloting that live flight call to the North Bend, Coos Bay area. And the UFO in question, if you look closely on your screen, that little red dot that floats in and out of the video.
That was the one that was at our altitude that would come up to us and sit for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then it would go back out over the ocean, over the horizon.
He and his crew witnessed this mysterious object continue this odd behavior from more than 20 miles away for about 20 minutes total. This came after a United Airlines flight reported seeing similar mysterious objects zipping through the sky, ranging between 30,000 and 50,000 feet in altitude.
We're seeing 3 or 4 targets. They're all altitudes, up and down. It's pretty crazy.
One researcher suggests it's a light bouncing off a Starlink satellite over the Pacific Ocean, catching the eye of pilots, something that's reportedly happened before. But Joe says this ain't that.
I don't think Starlink, like I said, satellites don't typically change directions. But then again, I could be wrong, but I honestly don't think it was. I've never seen a satellite move like that.
I reached out to the Federal Aviation Administration to see if they can confirm this UFO sighting. They kept it short and sweet, saying a pilot saw unidentified lights. The good news is it's not believed Joe or his crew were in any danger as they continue.
Well, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this here.
Red in color. Moving at extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast he's moving. You are cleared to maneuver as necessary, left and right, to avoid the UFO out there.
It's another thing I've found frustrating is this notion that here in this case, we've got something unknown moving at extreme speeds that they don't know about. It's in their airspace, but it's not a problem.
Yeah. How do they know that?
What's up with that?
Yeah.
Listeners, UFO Buster says they recorded a drone UFO thing for 39 minutes on November 6, 2024. Truly amazing footage. Guys, I bet that's over on their YouTube. And I'm going to go back here to Twitter real quick, if y'all don't mind, just to see if we got any other updates. And let me stop that. So here's somebody, I was skeptical of the drone story. That, oh yeah, if y'all have not seen this reporter, so this reporter in New Jersey talks about being skeptical, but they had their own encounter, and he said, I believe, caught 40 or 50 of them on camera.
What?
And again, hard to blame that on mass hysteria or drones. Here we have something from Money Penny, an excerpt from a recording taken today.
Wow.
Look at that.
Are you going to show the one where the firefight happened?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up. So there were a couple of videos out there that seemingly showed some sort of firefight happening. And I'm not going to pull those up, Jay, because I've found out, well, they're kind of...
Yeah, that's...
Well, they're unverified. I don't know what you heard, Andrew, but I'm worried that they could be rehashed footage from Ukraine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's actually a shooting event. If I know the one you're talking about, it's a shooting event that they do every year out in the desert, and it's a drone actually kind of recording the kind of artillery or the
Good question here from UFO Busters. Can a drone charge itself as it's flying? I don't know. I think I have heard of drones with that technology, but honestly, I'm going to say, yeah, they probably can. Now, to make matters even worse in terms of this mass hysteria, I want to play kind of like it's kind of like dueling banjos here. FBI versus White House, I suppose. And let me pull this up.
That's what I was saying about the battery life on those things. Long battery life.
Our nefarious intention.
There
is the
Makes
public
you wonder,
at risk?
like,
Is public
how
safety
long
at risk?
we
can
just
they
don't
really
know.
stay in the air?
We have not been able to corroborate any
Can you hear this?
of the reported
Yes.
visual sightings.
Are we concerned that there are nefarious intentions?
There's nothing that is known.
It appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft being operated lawfully.
The fact that we have these unknown drones, UASs,
but we just don't know.
There is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels.
There's nothing that is known.
There are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace.
There's nothing that is known.
No malicious activity,
but we just don't know.
There's no known malicious activity occurring,
but we just don't know.
We urge Congress to pass important legislation that will extend and expand existing counter-drone authorities.
And that's the concerning part.
Is the public at risk? Is public safety at
And
risk?
so
we just don't know.
This is Special Agent Wheeler versus John Kirby. Wheeler was saying, hey, we just don't know. We don't know, but there's no danger, but we don't know. And that's the scary part. And then we have John Kirby coming out and saying, you know what? This is mass hysteria. There's nothing to see here. Oh, and by the way, it's airplanes. Oh, and we need new legislation, by the way. So I was chatting with a friend of the show during this press conference with John Kirby, and I want to circle back to something that I was talking about earlier. When we had Matthew Roberts on with us, we had Matthew Roberts on, and we asked him, what is the possibility that the Tic Tac, the gimbal, the Go Fast, these things are us, our own technology? And he believed essentially it was zero, and I was with him. 100%. I think it's outlandish that we would test something on our own selves. For one, you run the risk of casualties or fatalities, right? Doing such black ops like that. And it wasn't until I started listening to these interviews with people like John Kirby that I said to myself, you know what? This might be us. Smitty, are you typing?
Sorry.
That's okay. Now he's on the view. So it was during this John Kirby interview and I was chatting with somebody else from the military, and they're like, you know what? The more he talks, the more it sounds like it's us doing this to us. Yeah. We're trying to get this new legislation passed, apparently. But to me, it brings up some really, really scary possibilities. And there's some of these rumors floating around here that somebody out there knows of some sort of imminent situation, be it a nuclear threat or something terrible. And unfortunately, in my mind, if that was the case, then how would we proceed? I think that the way we would proceed would look a lot like what's happening.
I agree. It could be like a sum of all fears type situation, if you guys are familiar.
Yes. And we could be seeing our own technology out there looking for some sort of imminent threat. Jay or Smitty, do you have any thoughts on that?
It's very possible. But then again, I don't think they know what's going on, to be honest with you. I mean, I think even John Kirby himself is scrambling for words. I really don't think they know what's going on. And this kind of reminds me of Project Blue Book.
Yeah, it's a great show.
It really does.
I mean, they could be good actors. I think they could be good actors. I mean, it's not be the first time in the history of our country that we've done something that was sleight of hand. we've done some pretty backwards things sometimes to cover up other things. We did the
Yes, I mean, starting all the way from Project Grudge and Project Sign, I mean, it was just basically just a giant disinformation campaign,
I mean, we've actually even taken and injected people with syphilis without their knowledge to see what it did to them in the Tuskegee experiment. So we've done some things that I would say that we've looked at to try to accomplish something without people knowing we were accomplishing something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And Teabag the World says there was something going on off the coast of Long Island about a week back where there were some Black Hawks that were searching for something a couple of miles out in the water. I've definitely heard something, and Jay and I have been watching a lot of Black Hawk activity on the flight tracker. And Teabag the World also said, I have a very unique phone. It's called the Tank 2. I'm not familiar with that, but it has an infrared camera projector, and the battery is humongous. I think it has at least buys me 2 minutes of time to send me a text out. And UFO Busters Australia says, I agree. So, folks, we have John Kirby telling us mass hysteria plus airplanes. Meanwhile, we have things like an intelligence bulletin, which was discovered, and it was sent out by the New Jersey Division of Fire Safety. And it is very interestingly, and this was issued this month, recommendations for encountering downed UAVs. This is from the New Jersey Division of Fire Safety. And here's their recommendations. Downed or landed drones should not be approached. Utilize the emergency response guidebook. Establish isolation and evacuation distances, 330 feet in all directions initially. At 330 feet, that's over a football field in all directions. How many places can you even easily establish a perimeter like that?
It's an odd number in the first place.
Yeah.
It really is. And we had reports today of a drone in New Jersey that maybe hit power lines and went down, and there was a huge response. And guess what the official word was? Nothing. They didn't find anything. Huge response. I'm going to go back to the intelligence bulletin for UAVs. Notify local law enforcement and the FBI, and there's the 1-800 number for the FBI. Okay, get this. Request the Hazardous Materials Response Unit and local hazmat team. So again, the message in here is perplexing.
Yeah, biological.
Well, yeah, and we've got folks like John Kirby saying there's no threat to the public. We got Special Agent Wheeler saying we don't know what it is or what's going on, but there's no threat. John Kirby says it's airplanes. It's not drones. There's nothing is happening here. But we got local folks like the fire safety people, talking about wearing hazmat suits. And by the way, hazmat suits responded to that down drone today, or what they thought was a down drone. It says hazardous materials response team should approach the incident as an unknown and follow established environmental monitoring procedures as such, to include radiation monitoring. Do y'all know of any hobby drones that are radioactive?
I mean, unless I've just woken up into some kind of alternate universe, I'm not aware of it.
But here it is.
Strange. Very strange.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, John Kirby said there's no danger to the public. Request the bomb squad. That's number 7.
To the brother.
Yeah, there's no danger here though, folks. No threat.
Be aware that electronic devices and two-way radio systems may malfunction in the immediate area. Is that perplexing or what?
Yeah, absolutely. EMP or some kind of distortion of some kind of field that we talked about.
Suspicious activity with a possible nexus to terrorism, targeted violence, or other related activity should be reported immediately per existing protocol. So again, we're talking about, is something else really happening here? I mean, behind the scenes, it certainly feels like some people think maybe there is. I mean, what's y'all's reaction to this fire safety memo?
Well, if there's no threat to the public, then why would they suit up? I mean, it doesn't
just
even
so
make any
contradictory to
sense.
everything they've been saying.
Yeah.
Well, John Kirby also said that there are no drones over military facilities. However, we have official rebuttals of that from the military.
And the UK.
And the UK. This is headline today. Multiple drones entered airspace at New Jersey Naval Station. This is from an official at the naval station. This is a direct contradiction to what John Kirby says, who says, 1, they're all airplanes. 2, they're not drones. 3, they're definitely not drones going over military bases. And 4, there's nothing to worry about. I feel like this contradicts all that.
It does. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But again, it also raises the possibility that it is our tech involved in something much bigger. And again, I want to harken back to February of 2023, NORAD, which, by the way, conspicuously absent from all this. What have we heard from NORAD? Nothing. February 2023, NORAD scrambles 3 fighter jets to take down 3 UFOs. They still called them UFOs back then.
Yeah.
And here today, we have incursions over our own mainland military bases. And we're saying to the public, we can't figure out where they're coming from, where they're going to, whose they are, what is their intention, what they even are at all.
That alone is alarming, with all the sightings, all the cameras, all the people watching at this point, that they cannot identify one starting location and one ending location or landing location of any of these things. Do they have unlimited flight time or something?
Yeah. But yet they can follow Santa Claus for 24 hours.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, and yet we are to believe that NORAD scrambled fighter jets, at 3 UFOs. And we've got another thing here. Let me see. This is from the Warren County Police Chiefs Association. This was posted by a friend of the show, Dan Warren. Check him out at Hey, look over there, LUK over there, Dan Warren on Twitter and TikTok. Check him out on TikTok. This is from the Warren County Police Chiefs Association. Drone activity, Warren County. And essentially it says, hey, we've got drone activity. The Warren County Chiefs Association would like to address Warren County residents on the recent drone activity. And basically said, we do not agree with the Department of Defense response that there is no known threat to the public at this time. It is our stance that just the unidentified drone flying over us is a threat in itself.
Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yes, sir. It does.
Until now, I never even realized this was a argument or a question. It blows my mind that they could even say that they could even claim that nobody should be worried, that this isn't a threat. Just the fact that they're here and we don't know what they are is alarming.
Exactly. You've got federal government saying one thing, and then you got state and local saying another. It totally contradicts everything that they've spat out there.
Well, here's the thing: the military has the the technology and the weapons to deal with these things. So they're not really too concerned. It doesn't seem like. If they're flying over us, well, all I've got is about 6 or 7 guns. They won't go very far up. You know, I don't think I'm gonna be shooting too many drones down with a dang shotgun. And that's what I'm saying. There's the difference. There's the sheriff department doesn't have the the technology the military does. So yeah, they're more worried about it. The military is not as worried about it. But like I think Mounts is right. I believe a lot of this is our technology. I always have.
And also Tim was telling me, and we talked a little bit about how like even something like the NFL securities has got the capability of hacking a drone if it flies over the Super Bowl area and taking it down themselves. But yet these guys, the federal government doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
No, that's right. And it was pointed out to me that the director of security for the NFL was supposed to be at the last Homeland Security briefing, believe it or not. And interestingly enough, she said something to the media. And again, February 2023, here we go back to there's something about February in the Super Bowl, it seems like. But she told the media that there's a drone no-fly zone around the Super Bowl. And she submitted testimony, by the way, to that Homeland Security briefing. And she told the media back then in 2023 that their officials have the power to take over drones that incurs on their airspace and land them down, and that the operators will be facing federal charges and huge fines. This is what the director of NFL security told someone in the media in February 2023. But we're being told right now that we are powerless against whatever's over our military bases. I mean, how much sense does that make? Now, somebody brought up a horrifying prospect, and I would not. I'm going to tell you, if I had tickets to Super Bowl this year, StubHub for me. I would not be going. I'd be selling those tickets, even though it's in New Orleans, I think, and I love New Orleans. But somebody brought up, all it would take is you could do something like one of these drones that they use as a crop duster nowadays at fields, and you could spray water over one of these stadiums, just water, and it would cause such a panic that it would cause massive casualties. Stampede,
a stampede,
panic. That would also be horrifying if a drone came out above the stadium and started spraying something. It would be horrifying, right? Just terrifying. And Smitty, you brought up shooting at drones. I want to bring this up. This is courtesy of Nick Sorter Jay Anderson. This is courtesy of Jay Anderson on Twitter. And by the way, UFO Buster said, just like in the E.T. movie, quarantine it quick. E.T. was the first movie I ever saw. I saw it when I was 7 years old. It was terrifying. I saw it at the Joy Theater in the Pontotoc Square in Mississippi, Pontotoc, Mississippi. And I'll never forget, the line of people waiting was lined up all the way around the courthouse square, waiting to go into the Joy Theater. But let's check this out, folks. You got to see this. I mean, he's shooting by power lines.
Good shot.
Yeah.
Mitty J, what is he shooting there, do you think?
I think he's shooting it's
AR 223.
Yeah, it's got tracers in it, so it's a rifle.
It is a rifle.
Semi-auto.
It sounds like a 223.
Oh, he's hitting it too.
Oh, he hit it. Yeah,
he just hit it then. That's crazy.
And it's almost like it's not even phased. Like it's not changing speed. Like
you could almost. I thought I heard him putting a new magazine in it at one time.
Yeah. He did, and you heard the bolt go back and back forward.
Yep.
He's locked and loaded. And it's just carrying on.
That's wild.
And I mean, look, there's like traffic. there's houses, everything else.
I'd be cheering them on at this point, you know.
Yeah.
I bet the power company that came out after that.
Yeah.
He may have missed the power lines, but or the phone lines.
Right here, he
there.
nails it.
Well, and some people have brought up this question. Okay, you know, if this is a threat, if it's UAP, if it's adversary drones, then why are they making
you got it right there.
attempt?
Yeah. Oh, right.
I can see that one.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, if he's not hitting that line, I don't know, man. It's crazy.
I mean, even a couple of good shots from a 223 on something like the size of that, man, you'd think it would affect it more than it did. Just like seemed to, you know.
Yeah, it didn't even look like it knocked it off its flight pattern hardly.
Yeah. The only just to play the optimist here for a second, the only thing that I could think of is that if they are keeping it this secret, the only thing maybe it's so severe that it truly is for our own good, you know. But I just don't see it, you know. And the track record too, like that with our government's had, it just I find it hard to believe. I hope it's the case.
By the way, I want to point out, please don't go shoot at the drones.
Yeah.
We want to make that clear, and other people are making that clear. This is a mistake. You could be shooting at a passenger plane. You could more likely injure or kill somebody on the ground. So please don't do that. In this case, you could have shot down some power lines and electrocuted yourself or somebody else. But one thing was clear from that video to me, and that is that that's not an airplane. That was incredibly low altitude. It wasn't an airplane. I'm not saying what it was, but it wasn't an airplane, and it was very low. This was clear, and you're right. It did look like he hit it. And people have asked, why are they making no effort at concealing themselves? Why the bright lights? Why obviously flying over with people watching? And one thing this Homeland Security report highlighted was this notion. If it wasn't clear enough that one drone operator can have 1,500 kills, the art of war has changed. And according to military insiders, the need for stealth is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
When you can send a drone out that is relatively cheap to manufacture with no human connected to it, and that by the time it's noticed, and this is another scary part about all this, by the time it's noticed, it's too late. It can go ahead and execute its mission. It can loiter until it's time to execute its mission. If you shoot it down, who cares? We didn't lose any humans, and all we lost was a cheap drone. And guess what? You know, I brought this frightening prospect up with Mr. J. Who knows how long these things have been in production? There could be millions of these. Millions in the waiting. This happened today. I want to bring it up. This is from Nick Sorter on Twitter, sharing a massive search effort was underway in Hillsborough, New Jersey, after a possible drone landing. This was per CBS New York. Multiple agencies, including hazmat teams, so think back to that fire bulletin earlier, are on the scene in the FBI. The FBI has now gotten involved. Crews are doing a wide area search on foot and four-wheelers, but are releasing no statements to the public. That was at the time. Let me pull it up. Look at the response to that.
Yeah.
And you know what? We read about that 330 feet perimeter. I mean, you need 330 feet perimeter just for that level of response.
Yeah.
And guess what the official response here was? We didn't find anything. I don't know if y'all can see, but there must be 200 spaces there. And I see these. You see what is the size of a bus or a RV? Those are probably the hazmat response teams, don't you think, Jay?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Bomb squad. Looks like they got everything out there.
I think it's, a lot of people, you look at these things and think, hey, maybe these could be, these are probably physical objects, but I think it's safe to say there's been no confirmed physical interaction with them. I mean, is it possible that we or somebody is testing some sort of hologram tech, or, something that produces just a straight up hologram, and
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hey Tim, I hate to bring this up, man, but like I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've got that flight tracker thing up, and there is a lot of activity right in between Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. And that's all military.
That's strange. I've got Flight Tracker on my phone as well. I actually downloaded it recently because of this.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Jay, remind me of that
It is
website. I think it starts with A. There was a new one that Jay and I started using recently. Oh, I think I may have got it. A, for those listening, ADSBEX change.com. I'm going to see if I can pull this up.
Yep.
View the map. I'm gonna pull this up for everybody. And one interesting thing about this, let me get this up here. There we go. And you can sort, and I believe it's the Jay. Where were you looking?
I was looking right on the Florida, Alabama, Georgia area. It
And
like
had you
froze
sorted
on me.
by military?
Yeah. Yep. So you would press the U. Yep.
Thanks for everybody tuning in right now. We have a lot of people watching. We appreciate all of you right now. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet on YouTube, on Twitter, please do. Please comment. And oh, yeah, look at that.
Look at that.
That is
wow,
a lot
strange.
of traffic.
It's clustered up. That is odd.
And they're up in the air, or
Yeah.
they wouldn't be on this.
What in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They appreciate any listeners if they could tell us, if this is normal.
It's around Dothan, Alabama.
Area.
I mean, they're just.
Yeah, look at that.
So is it actually represent helicopters, or I see that it's helicopters. Is it different between?
It's Blackhawks, and they're real, and they're there, and you can see their path. Look, that one just weird. I don't know what's right there. It doesn't say there's a base. Well, it does say here Fort Navasel. Have y'all ever heard of that?
Not right off the top of my head.
But they appear to all be Blackhawks, and that is
They do a military exercise at night.
Except that one. That one's not a Blackhawk. What is that?
That's an Offspring.
Very interesting. This is at adsbexchange.com. Yeah, that's a lot of Black Hawk and other activity going on down there for sure.
Yep. And then there's one that just popped up off the coast of Miami.
Again, all seemingly close to coastlines here.
Yeah, and then a C-17 has been flying from, it looks like Boston, and is heading down in that general direction.
Yeah, and I'm having a hard time getting mine to react, but everybody should check out this website, adsbexchange.com. You can sort the military flights there, the ones that it will show you anyway. I'm going to kind of go up toward New Jersey. and see what's happening. And we do have something up there.
Yeah, that
right
is
now.
That's a C-17 Globemaster 3.
Yep. And where did it come from, Jay? Can you see? It may take me a little while to.
Actually,
Wow.
yeah, it's came across. Oh, I just lost its track.
Well,
I don't
I've
know
got
what
it. Can you
happened.
see that? Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I have not noticed this before. Where did that? And what is this? Another Globe Master, and they appear to be coming from. I don't know, somewhere in Europe. Very interesting, and I think one of my military consultants said those Globe Masters can travel vast distances. I think the C-17s can refuel in there. I believe, as he said, possibly even could go all the way to Israel if it needed to from the United States. And look,
Wow.
this one here over there came from somewhere in the ocean. So very interesting. Of these normal flights is hard for me to say. So thanks, Jay, for bringing that up. I tell you, folks, you got to keep your eyes on things out there. There's a lot of stuff going on. Jay, have you noticed anything else before we start wrapping up for the night happening on Twitter?
No, not right now, other than there was a report over Brooklyn. I think that may have been yesterday. Let me find it. The caption is another huge drone spotted soaring over the Bronx. A unidentified flying aircraft with blinking lights was filmed flying over a residential area.
Now this is interesting. It's a time lapse of over the ocean tonight, and I've noticed a lot of these beach cams. And we were watching it. I was watching this at the same time as people were in a Twitter space, and it's quite interesting to watch this. Let me see if I can bring this up. This is from Think Tank on Twitter, but they're just sharing the beach cam, if you will. So yeah, here we go. And this is a time lapse and it's sped up. And okay, let me add this onto the screen here. So check this out.
Oh, sorry, Tim, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just got one that said the sheriff of Ocean City, New Jersey, tells News Nation one of his officers saw 50 drones coming in from the ocean. The Coast Guard was then called and they spotted 13 drones off the coast from their boat, estimating wingspans of 8 foot.
Holy moly.
I will send that to you, Tim.
It's wild.
Jay, who posted that?
It was Nick Sortor, Sortor. I sent it to your phone.
We actually just had, let me get this off. We actually just had Nick, his feed on here. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. And like I said, things are breaking. SORTER. Things SORTOR. Things are breaking faster than we can keep up with here on this drone situation. We want to thank Andrew for joining us tonight.
Yes,
who had the most incredible videos.
Yeah, no problem, guys. I really enjoyed this. This is really fun. So.
Yeah, it was a good show.
Oh, I see what you're.
Yeah, you see that?
Let me pull this up so everybody can see.
I definitely believe we are on the cusp of some pretty interesting stuff coming in the next few years.
Maybe the
sooner.
next few months, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Can y'all hear
Seems like
this?
it's
no.
Seems like it's really starting to ramp up pretty good. All these sightings going on.
Let me pull this back up because this is really interesting, and this seems to be pretty breaking here.
Called 911 after seeing
Can y'all hear
50
that?
of them come off the ocean.
Advised after we made contact with that officer that there were 50 that came off the ocean.
50?
Not zero. That was my reaction also. There were 50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer.
Sworn officer, yes. We contacted state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat and they reported seeing 13 following their boat. And then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
You know,
Holy
Wow.
A wingspan of 8 feet. Even if there were only 13 of them, the boat or ship that they were on would have to be massive.
Oh my gosh.
To have those on there.
And the odd thing is, some of these are plane shaped, like airplane shaped, you know, and that just makes no sense. And
I mean, there's no way that any average normal person could own 50 of those things.
Yeah, I mean, just to think of the cost of just having one of them. There would be no way a normal person could afford that. No way.
Stephen Hickman joins in on Twitter, says research loitering munitions. That's a good point. That's some pretty scary technology right there. Loitering munitions. Is that what we're looking at? Guys, do you think there's any possibility that instead of coming from some sort of mothership in the water, like an Iranian mothership, could we be looking at things that are coming out of the water?
that's like I stated earlier in the podcast, that is my personal view. I do believe that some of the stuff I've read in the past in the year 2023 has been corroborated, recently, even by our own government, saying that these things are coming from the ocean. NHI has been interacting with us for a long time now.
I agree. And, back to what Kevin Knuth told us one time, he was on with us. He said, and he was talking about the Arrow historical report. He said that UAPX has presented their findings to every 3-letter organization plus Arrow. And every one of them asked them the same questions. What are your abilities for detecting and tracking UAP underwater? So they were asked that by the CIA. They were asked that by the FBI. They were asked that by Arrow. They were probably asked that by the NSA. What are your capabilities of detecting UAP underwater? I'm going to tell you, it's starting to make a lot of sense to me now why UAPX would be asked that. Freaking alien, says UFO Busters.
I'm with you, UFO Busters. I'm on your team, yeah.
Well, and that's another thing we talked to Kevin Knuth about, and this is, again, making a lot of sense. Some people theorize that aliens, UFOs, UAPs, they're coming from other parts of space or the universe. And Kevin Knuth said, I mean, I hate to disagree, right? But he says all the evidence suggests that they're already here, that wherever they're coming from, it's here. Maybe it's underground, but the bulk of the evidence tends to suggest it's from the water.
Yeah.
So again, let's circle back. Here we are. All these drone incursions, they seem to be happening near coastlines along the East Coast. But maybe we got stuff going on the West Coast too. We know this. We have pilots reporting. We want to really thank Andrew for joining us tonight. We want to thank all the people that's tuned in. You can tune in every time to All Things Unexplained for free on our YouTube. We're on Twitter tonight. We're on LinkedIn. We never charge anything. We don't have a paywall. We don't have a subscription. And we appreciate you for doing so. You can help us out by liking this video, by commenting, by sharing it, and by subscribing. Over on YouTube right now, we've got listener Steve Leap who says shape-shifting UAP. Andrew, you were talking about that. And Andrew showed us these videos, you know, that he captured. Didn't you get the sense some of them were potentially shape-shifting, Andrew?
100%.
I mean, we're not talking about hobbyist drones here on shape-shifting, I don't think.
No.
Yeah,
or
and
airplanes.
Steve, I don't know if you've watched the entire thing, but if you dial back, you know, and I know this, you can replay this on YouTube, you'll hear me talk about some stuff that I've actually read a couple years ago, you know, and some stuff that's really interesting about potential AI, kind of AI mothership in the ocean. They call it the MCU, which is a mobile construction unit that it builds these drones to spec every time, and that the true stealth is to make people believe they're seeing what they always see.
Core Rock on YouTube says UFO black cube rectangle swarms at Amukta Island Coast, Shaguglak Island Coast, Kodiak Island Coast, bays, inlets. Good points. UFO Buster says that's right. Stephen Hickman, I think he's talking to you, Andrew, says bingo, nailed it. Yep. I'm pretty sure that's what he's getting at. I think Andrew nailed it as well. I'd like to pass it around. You know, I encourage everybody, check out what's happening on Twitter tonight. You know, keep looking up at the skies. I'd like to get final thoughts from everybody. Let's start with Smitty.
I just think that there's so much evidence that's been amassed lately that something, either our government or some other government has bombarded us with these drones. This is not a hobbyist. This is not something that's normal. I don't think anyone other than maybe Jeff Bezos or someone like that could afford to do something on this massive a scale. And there would only be a few people that could afford some of these things that seem like it's going on. So I'm going to keep my eyes to the sky and kind of keep my eyes on the media to see if any more of this stuff comes out recently.
Good point, Mr. J. What's your final thoughts on tonight?
I got a couple of things. You know, I could go a few different directions, but I in the back of my mind, I'm asking myself, is this our military testing our capabilities? Is this another country testing our capabilities? Is this an invasion? I'd have to say, just stay tuned. Stay tuned. We'll find out hopefully soon.
Yes, sir. Andrew joined us tonight. Andrew, I believe you are I Want to Believe 88 on TikTok. Did I get that right?
That's correct, sir. Thank you.
Good. I hope everybody will go over to Andrew's TikTok and subscribe and check out his videos. Andrew, what would you like to leave us with tonight?
You know, I think I've really covered a lot of what I feel about this. I think probably some of the drones are military, but in my opinion, they're probably looking for the true UAPs, the orbs, you know, the things that we are seeing shapeshift and mimic other craft that just don't seem right. Jay, I want to thank you for your military service. Smitty, you know, it's great to meet you guys, and just thank you for having me on.
You too. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. I want to close with this before I throw it over to Smitty to take us out. Somebody once said, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. I can't tell you what's happening right now, but what I can tell you is that no matter what it is, it's better to be prepared for whatever is going to happen, for whatever could happen. Recent events like the flood in western North Carolina have showed us that things can change just like that in the blink of an eye. Overnight, with no warning, your home could be gone. You could be forced out, into a situation that you never thought possible in the blink of an eye with no warning. I've got an emergency backpack hanging in my garage, and it's there if I ever need to grab it and head out. And I want to encourage everybody to be prepared. Worst case, hey, nothing happens. You don't need it. Life carries on. Worst case, you put you and your family and your loved ones in a better position to be ready for whatever the case may be. So I want to encourage everybody, live life to the fullest. Get off your screens for a little while. Head out into the woods. Look up at the sky, which our guest Andrew loves to go sky watching. This is how and why he's here with us tonight, because he likes to check out the sky and the universe around him. You may not find Bigfoot. You may not capture some great video like Andrew did. You may not see a UFO, but you might just find something even more important out there, and that's yourself. Smitty, you want to take us out here? As soon as you get off mute there, Smitty, now you got to use your Australian accent.
I was going to say, I haven't been on in a while, but I'm glad to be back. Just had some things going on that's kept me away from the show, and hopefully I'll be back more frequently, and we'll get back in the groove. And we miss CJ, but tonight has been an exceptional show with an exceptional audience and exceptional guest and Andrew. We're glad to see Jay, and as Andrew already said, we're grateful for his military service and all the men and women who serve this great country. And remember, be happy, be strange, and listen to all things unexplained. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
All things unexplained.
What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
Dr. Taylor was revealed to be the chief scientist of the UAP task force with the Pentagon.
So some of that, I think, sir, will save for closed session.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.